reservation that you need. First thing you need to put in a thing before you invest on the majority of the park area there. JT came up with a great idea.
Move to the courtroom. Move it to the courtroom.
Golf courses and parks. That would be the ideal place for golf courses. We're offered up. So, but what is that? Everybody's playing that. I don't really understand. We built a little visitors area. Just hell, I would be all well, I appreciate it. I know it's important. I can't believe she's 16. I'd be crying. I looked at her like a child was just what happened.
He's busy.
You have a protester.
Yeah, that's
Protesting up there. Protesting up there.
we're here. Where he went.
I didn't know everybody.
Over here. Sorry.
I can say anything about Joe Bull on this side.
Yeah, and I would just. I know. It's our job.
Just last remaining. I've always heard about it. I didn't know that. Connection to that. Yeah, or move it to that place next door. You know,
Did where they had it going? It dropped in.
Really?
It's always like
All right, everyone, we'll go ahead and get started. If everyone stand, Commissioner Dent, lead us in prayer and follow by the pledge.
Father in heaven, we come now thanking you for life, man. We come blessing your name because your name worthy to be blessed. We come, Father, right now as humble servants. There's no big eyes and little U's. We thank you for your goodness and your mercy. Your lives are all the same in your sight. We thank you for what you've done thus far. We thank you for what you're going to do in the future. And we bless your holy name for that right now. Father, as we come to try to do what is right for all our citizens, ask you to be with us. And Father, it's not about us, but it is about you. And as these blessings and all other blessings I do ask, in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting this Tuesday, August 27th, 2024, 6 p.m. We have a conference line set up. Number there is 1917-900-1022. Access code 32347#. This is not a toll-free number. You may be subject to long distance charges according to your long distance plan. When the chairperson opens the meeting for public comment, please follow the below instructions. If you wish to speak, please dial *5. The moderator will unmute your line when it's your turn to speak and notify you by announcing the last 4 digits of your telephone number. Please announce your name and address. You will be allowed to speak for 3 minutes. Any person wishing to address the board regarding an agenda item will be given 3 minutes for comment. A commenter may only speak one time for each agenda item. With that said, we'll move on to item 3. Did you all see the revised agenda, the removal of item 23? We have a motion to approve our revised agenda. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Second. All right, we have a second by Commissioner Moody. All in favor? Aye. All right, we'll move on to consent items. Everyone had a chance to go over your consent items. Any discussion? Any questions? There's no discussion or any questions. We'll entertain a motion to approve our motion and a second to approve our consent items. All in favor?
Aye.
Public request. I will say before we get too much further, we probably have a few people that want to come up and speak tonight on different subjects. I just ask everyone to please address the board and do not address anyone in the public or staff. Please address the board only. So we'll go on our public request, item 17, the long-term recovery group is presenting an update.
Thank you, kind of brief. I'm Brenda Crawford. I am a member of the long-term recovery group. Our chair of the group is not here tonight, but he did give me his report, and I'm gonna go through. To date, the long-term recovery group, Taylor County Strong Long-Term Recovery Group is for helping those that are in need from a hurricane, basically a day at this time. So we have closed out about 60 cases that we've been working on. We've got 10 right now that we're working on, and there's 27 like in the process. But besides that, Endeavors, which is the group that helps some of the surrounding counties and all, has about 144 cases that they're working on that they give back to us as they work through them and qualify them and get ready for us to repair them. Our partners are many, like Catholic Charities, Church of Christ, Presbyterian Church, the Methodist Church, Faith Responders, the Red Cross, United Way, Habitat for Humanity, Christian Aid Ministries, Lutheran Churches of North America, Community Foundation, Volunteer Florida, Week of Compassion, Salvation Army, and just go on and on. And we get, they provide grants in some aspects. Some of them provide appliances or furniture or mattresses, just different things that they provide. We have, spent about $300,000 thus far. And that's mostly, local, supplies and vendors to do some repairs. So, keeping it here. And we have about 200,000 right now left. Now, that number changes constantly as we get other grants in, some small, some large. We get those in. The, Mennonite Disaster Services is coming back in January through March for 3 months to help us with some more repairs. And when we get those volunteers in, that means we don't have to come up with the money to actually, pay them for labor. But, right now, we're using, like I say, some local contractors to do that labor. Hurricane Debbie, thank goodness, we only had about 5 calls, and they were all dealing with power outages. So, not anything real significant with that one, which that's good for us. With the Red Cross, they had identified 9 needs for permanent housing. And I think thus far they've got 1 that they pretty well gotten taken care of, and they're working on the others. But, we do need volunteers. If anybody's willing to volunteer, we can figure out a way to let you help us, within the county to try to continue to, help those that are in need. And the ones that we have, and when I said we had like 144 cases with endeavors, that we've identified and they've applied. I'm sure there's still a lot out there that we continue to add to, not necessarily day by day, but we could. But that's my report. Have any questions?
Endeavors is a group that basically is working through FEMA to help aid in this long-term recovery, so.
They were established through, Tallahassee, and like I say, they trained them like all at the same time, and it was, the last number I remember was like 30 or 40, and that was back when we first started. We didn't have, that was a given, and they're in Madison and Swanee, their headquarters in Tallahassee.
Yes.
And they actually, work on all the surrounding counties.
But the correspondence that you have with those folks, they're working well with everybody on the local level. The reason I'm asking that is I was told early on that there were some breakdowns in communication, so just trying to ensure.
They have been working on it. They've had several meetings trying to resolve some issues, and, but I'll follow up with that on you,
Yes.
once I get a better update. But they are, working with our group.
Yes. The volunteers that you need, do they need a skill set or a certain group that would be more qualified, or how does that work?
There's probably a need for most anything.
Um,
Yes, like this morning, we had to unload mattresses, out of semi-truck. We need help to facilitate that. We're still looking for some storage space too. We haven't come up with that, but anyone that wanted to volunteer, I think we could find we know that there'd be a way that they could help us.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, we'll move on to item 18, public request. DG2 to address the board regarding letter received from Taylor County Code Enforcement.
The reason I'm here is after the accident, 2020.
Quiet, please.
In 2020, we built a place down in St. Anthony, Cedar Island, pole barn, and actually, what I did after we got it built, I put a chain link fence up on the canal side
I got these pictures here to show you exactly where the fence is. And anyway, we built it, it was there for 2 or 3 years, and then we had a bad hurricane. The reason I built that fence to start off with is every year we have, you know, a lot of kids riding golf carts up down there. And I don't really know, and I don't think they have the county knows, where the right of way, they got a 15-foot right of way on that road going in. And I went up to Sean last week, and she said it's actually never has been surveyed out. So I'm actually getting it surveyed out. I've been paying taxes on this road for 15 years, under my tax bill. Anyway, when I built that fence, I put it about this far over, actually guessing where my property was. And come to find out, it is on the county right of way, about this far. You can see on those pictures, it's about this far. The only reason I built that road to start off with is 25, 50 kids always riding around Cedar Island on golf carts. And there's about 5 or 6 palm trees that hangs over the road there, and there's a drop off, if you look at about 8 or 10 foot straight down. And Joe P. Burns them had dumped old headstones that was busted up and rocks and barnacles and all there. And I put a fence up there for the sole purpose of safety. You know, one of my grandkids, I got 6, one of them running off in there, anybody else's. I have not had one person prior to the storm and after the storm complain about that fence, all but one guy. You know, he just, whatever. Anyway, and, you know, I didn't know if you're supposed to have a permit, put it on the county right of way by foot there. And I really don't know that it's on the county right of way, because like I said, the county just surveyed it out. They got a line on the survey showing it in the middle of the road, but then you go up to the next curve and it's way over to the right. So I'm having it surveyed out as we speak. And if it's on the county right of way, I really don't want to move the fence. I'll give the fence, you know, 30-foot fence, just protecting the kids from going on. I'll give the fence to the county at my expense, or, you know, get a permit or whatever it takes. I would love to leave the fence up there for nothing more than safety. For all the kids that ride in, you know, Cedar Island. I know 4th of July, you were down there 4th of July weekend. What was it, 50, 100 golf carts? At least, sheriff was down there, you know, they have a big water balloon fight and all that. And to make me move that fence over one guy, that's ridiculous. You know, but y'all tell me what I need to do, I'll do it.
I'd like to ask our attorney, can we accept this fence from him and it become county property instead of him having to tear it down?
You can accept it, but you might have to obey your right of way, move it yourself. You got me to write a letter to somebody else for moving the fence. Y'all recall that?
Was it over safety? Or was it cows or something? This is nothing more than keep kids from running down the canal down there.
I'm just telling what they told me to do.
Okay.
And I did what they told me to do. I haven't gotten a response from it. I'm expecting a response on that. There was a complaint made. Now, it was a whole lot more supposedly on the right of way than what you're talking about. Didn't you understand what I'm saying? You know, it'd be interesting to see, for my client, to see what the survey provides.
There's the potential that the survey may very well indicate that your fence is on your property. Is that
I
fair?
don't know that.
But it's
I
possible.
mean, it's this far off the road.
And even if it's
But,
not much.
but
is
5 foot,
that-
you're in the canal.
In that kind of distance, is that within the acceptance of a plus or minus interpretation of a survey? It's not down to the exact foot, is it?
That property's never been surveyed out.
I will tell you this.
As far as the road
The
goes.
road itself.
That's what the county said.
Well, There's surveys and then there's surveys.
This is true.
I mean, I know that you've had surveys before, and one of them was one way and one of them was another way. Understand what I'm saying? I mean, I had lawsuits, and they were 18 inches on the property line. My suggestion to y'all would be to, table this and wait for the survey before you take any action.
Well,
Either that or,
even at that, I mean, at the end of the day, there are different dynamics around different situations.
Sure, they are.
And it's a matter of right and wrong, and what you do. Now, survey it out, fine, but we do have options don't we have an option to potentially issue, a right-of-way use permit?
You have that option.
Now, if we can issue a right-of-way use permit, then that's really just doing nothing but notifying that we know the fence is there. I don't think that's gonna say that down the road, if there's a repaving that may go on through there, I'm not sure what.
they don't grade it 2 or 3 times a year.
But regardless, if it happens, then I'm just saying it was part of the discussion in other fences that, hey, the 30 foot of it might have to come down. I'm not saying it couldn't be replaced, but I mean, for it ready to be paved, it might have to be moved.
I'm on the same page as you. If we can work this out and not have him to have to move that fence, that's okay with me. Because this situation is a little different from the one that came before us a few weeks ago. This is a safety issue. So I'm okay with, if this right away business will work, that's fine with me.
I have a problem issuing a right-of-way permit, that's the will of the entire board, but
While you're waiting on the survey, it's not a problem as far as infraction with code enforcement. That's the time constraint's not gonna put you in.
I'm not worried about that.
Right, so I mean, I think we owe it to you and everyone else to, let's see about the survey. And let's see what it said.
I'd like to say I appreciate you putting it up there for safety.
It's just-
That's the bottom line.
You know, it's just something that needs to be done, because that is a dangerous intersection, you know, right there with all the palm trees. Well, you can tell by the picture, and I put it up against the palm trees, you know, and I would have put it on the other side of the palm tree, but then I had to do this with the fence, you know, and this is Taylor County, you know, you don't do stuff like that. It's just-
If there's a right of way, then why make him go through the expense of paying for a survey?
he may want to do a survey for other.
I ain't gonna do it, I ain't got to.
Is that something you want to do?
Well, survey?
Yeah.
On the other side, see, this is so far back. Now, the center part up here, you know, I'm gonna get that survey, but it has nothing to do with this part here. They just charge me more money to come up on the county to do that. But the first thing that's gotta be found out is where the county line is. And that's gonna be, you know, I don't know.
If the county don't know, we own that land and we don't.
Mr. Chairperson, it's a prescriptive easement. So the portion I believe Mr. Tootin is referring to is not something that we routinely maintain. So it doesn't present an issue as far as maintenance on that road. We don't grade where the fence is. So, and I would have to go in and look at what the width of that road is, but it hasn't, from what I understand,
Right.
it has not presented an issue, only in that the fence was built on county property, what we believe is county property. And I believe you were sent a letter and asked if you could present a deed that showed that it was on your property, which you don't, or a survey, which you don't have.
Right.
So it's prescriptive easement, so no, there's not a deed in the county's name, from what I understand.
But if the county don't have it, why should I have to pay $600 to get county survey done when it's just a little, you know, right of using the property? I mean,
I agree with you, and I didn't think the prescriptive easement had a right of way. Is that true or not, Luanda?
Well, it's considered a county right of way because by prescriptive easement, basic, and Conrad, you may need to help me, it's just as if the county owns the property.
So
So,
does the prescriptive right to have a right of way or not? It does? And how much is that?
it depends on the road, yes ma'am. But I don't believe, from what I understand, that this fence is interfering with any maintenance that goes on.
Certainly doesn't look like it, because if you look at where it's graded twice a year, the side of it is,
Only one person's ever had an issue with
Yeah.
it, and it's just a little skirmish between us.
it doesn't look like it affects.
That's what it is, that's the whole body.
It doesn't look like that fence affects that road. And y'all know the definition of prescriptive easement, use for years plus grading it, and that's looked like it's been recently graded there. And all it is what's left over, from the grader. What do you call that?
Roll.
Wrong.
It's the roll, that's where they roll.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotta get a name straight.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, you may have a different term. I'm not the tip it up.
Well, it doesn't really have a shoulder or a burn.
Not for that purpose. No,
You understand what I'm saying?
So,
You got safety tape on it too. I mean,
Yeah, I put
you got safety tape on the end of it, I mean, and don't look like somebody'd have to be running up under them palm trees to get into the fence anyway,
That's true.
so,
It looks safe to me.
In issuing a right-of-way permit, don't have a problem doing that, but how do we do that? How do we issue a right-of-way permit on?
Our public works director can issue a right-of-way use permit. It does not require board approval. And it could be, I believe it could be conditional that if sometime down the road, if the fence must be removed, if that's what the board wishes, then I think that could be included into the right-of-way use permit.
I promise you, if you wanna pave it, I'll move it then.
So we don't need any direction,
I don't believe so. If the board does not wish to take action, I can just take it up with staff. And if there's any complications, then we can come back to the board if that's okay.
Make a motion that she takes it up with staff.
Does someone want to speak?
Yes, we do have someone, at least one person who wishes to speak.
Well, let's, we got one that speak, you just step back a little bit and we'll finish up.
I'll do it, can I have my picture back?
Oh.
Thank you. Walmart special.
Who we got?
Look, Charles Scott, I'm one of the full-time residents that's down there. Just for the record, we have no skirmish. I have only spoken with this gentleman one time in the last 4 years when he called me after the complaint was started, so I don't know where that all comes from. I'm here on behalf of several full-time residents of Cedar Island. We all know that the county creates and enforces ordinances regarding building codes. Sometimes they make variances or exceptions to these rules for issues or violations that occur within a property owner's lot lines. There are no examples, however, of private construction items such as fences that are being allowed to encroach on government property or public rights of way. The fence in question continues off the property owner's southern edge, marked by an electric pole and a telephone box, for approximately 17 feet. As the electric and telephone companies do a good job of placing their boxes and poles at the corners or edges of the property lot lines, it's pretty easy to see how far the fence actually encroaches out to the roads. Then the fence turns east, continues 60 feet along Cedar Island Road, all within the county's right of way. And yes, it is a county road. You guys can check the Q Public or whatever else, goes all the way to the end of this property. The prescriptive easement is a circle that is to the north end of this entire section we're talking about. It's way beyond where the fence is. To illustrate this, the fence actually extends past an old dock concrete footer that still remains there today. That dock was built by Darrell Hartsfield, who was denied a right-of-way use permit and told to remove his dock by this Taylor County Board of Commissioners on August 6, 2012. Therefore, this fence is unquestionably encroaching on county land and is in the right-of-way and is in violation of Taylor County ordinances. While the owner may advocate for the necessity of a fence for child safety, this can already be accomplished while keeping the fence on the owner's property. Brings up the point of what would happen if this is allowed to continue, and other people all around the various communities, all along the canals, if anybody wants to put up a fence for other safety reasons, is everybody else going to be also allowed to do the same thing? The Taylor County Board has just addressed a very similar fence code violation by another property owner on First Street in Steinhatchee, who was ordered to remove his fence from the county right-of-way. And as this has already set precedent, I would expect that this violation would be treated the same, and that Taylor County Board of Commissioners would enforce its ordinances consistently, no matter who the property owner is. Thank you.
Any other discussion from the board? Anyone else? Come on, step forward. If you'll state your name and address.
Rachel Wilkinson, 129 Galvin Street. And I work at an animal rescue off of Foley Cutoff. And it's a sanctuary. Yes. Our dogs have been abused. We've
Are you referring to the topic we're talking about, or are you talking about animal control?
I'm talking about animal control.
Okay, we haven't gotten to that,
Because-
we've not
okay.
gotten to that topic yet, so if you'll kind of step back, we'll be on that topic shortly.
I'll let you know about animal control.
You're gonna get the opportunity to talk, but not right now, we're on a different topic right
Okay.
now. So just step back and then we'll get you back up and we're talking
I know a
about.
lot.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion from the board on regarding the, do we need a motion to?
I'll make that motion to allow staff to, use the right-of-way.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second on this item, all in favor? All right. Moving to general business, item 19, the board to consider approval of request to waive 25 boat ramp fees for the Hooked on Heroes second veteran fishing event to be held on October the 5th, 2024, agenda by Commissioner Liz.
Mr. Chairman, I was contacted by Representative of Hooked on Heroes who made this request. This is an ongoing effort to reach out and benefit our veterans, and so we'll continue in that spirit. I request that this be approved, move forward. I will make that a motion if there's no discussion. Yes, sir.
We have a second?
Yes.
Second, all in favor? Item 19A, the board to further discuss requests from adjoining landowners to purchase all or part of Hampton Springs Park property as intended by Commissioner English. This item, I really put it on to bring some clarity to our discussion on Hampton Springs and some misrepresentation by one of our board members via social media as a slander toward myself on election day, slandering that I'm in some kind of buddy system with Mr. Mattingly and maybe I'm not taking money for something to push some of this item through. Making these accusations challenges the integrity of myself, my parents, my grandparents, my entire family. Real. And I don't appreciate it, not one bit. I don't need nobody to speak for me. I can speak for myself if it needs to be done. I'm gonna take it back and I'm gonna go through this Hampton Springs discussion and bring light of just what was taking place during this Hampton Springs discussion. I was contacted by Mr. Joe Mattingly because he can't contact his own commissioner because of ill feelings between both the individuals. I was contacted by Mr. Mattingly. He had already spoken to 2 other commissioners on this topic, and he asked me he told me he wanted to run something by me. He's interested in expanding his business, and he mentioned potentially buying a portion of Hampton Springs or all of it. In his mind, he said, hey, I don't mind getting it all, and I'll probably bring more, I'll leave it just as it is, add on to my business, and make trails to it, and probably bring more attention to it than it brought to it today for my business. I told Mr. Mattingly, I said, well, I said, there's probably gonna be some red tape to go through, because there's grants that's tied to some of this property, so I'll get with staff, which I did, and there was no issues with moving forward, so I told Mr. Mattingly, I said, I'll take it to the board, I said, but I'm one commissioner. I said, I presented both ways, but I said I would be more fair to say that we're not gonna get rid of the Hampton Springs portion, that there's 38 point some odd acres out there. And he just mentioned he was thankful if he could get any just to expand his business. It's not my job. I'm here as a commissioner to listen to the citizens, to the businesses of this community. If I can help them, I'll help them. If I can't help them, and I know we can't do what the request is made, I'll let them know. If I'm not sure, I'll do just exactly what I did in this situation. I'll go to staff and I'll ask the staff, I'll present it to staff, and we'll do our due diligence. And I'll bring it to the board, because I'm one of 5 board members. And that's exactly what I did. I brought it to the board, and we come in this meeting, and we sat in this meeting discussing the Hampton Springs deal. I didn't make a comment, $100 comment that, hey, newspaper plastered it on the headlines, and you know what, I hate it. That is a point of reference. That's not a literal statement. Shame on anybody that takes something such as that as a literal statement. That is a point of reference that anybody thinks that I would literally sell or think that $100 is a big deal to the county. I said, but you know, when I put this in front of a citizen or a business, what little bit he could bring to his business might not be a big deal to the county, but you know what? It might be a big deal to that small business. And him being able to employ a few people and help people out. Of social media, I slandered on social media, and to be honest with you, the representation to this entire board was misrepresented on social media. Commissioner put on social media that we got she put her arguments of why she was opposed to it, and mind you say, when we talked about this at this meeting, I don't know if y'all got that up to put on the slide, and you don't really have to, but we have to vote. There's only 4 commissioners at this meeting, and Commissioner Fiegel made a motion to move forward. Made the motion to move forward with researching this project to potentially help this business out. I can help that all because of a newspaper headline. She lacked any integrity from any outrage by the public. She can't talk to it. So in turn, we turn around and we blame everybody else. After you made a motion and then walk behind me and ask me right here, how much did Joe Mattingly pay you to bring this to the board? What kind of garbage is that?
Amen.
I don't get paid by nobody. Just what I told you, I work for the citizens and the business of this community, and I brought this to the board as I said I would. And really, it's not for me to further discuss. I mean, it's still kind of under research. Nobody's made a decision of what we're going to do. It's still to be discussed. And I just wanted to bring clarity to just what went on and just what the intent of this board was. the argument was made by the commissioner, and the argument stated what the other four commissioners' argument was. Guess what? There wasn't four of us here. Poor Commissioner Moody wasn't even here, and his argument was stated on social media. He wasn't even here. So, I just wanted to bring clarity to the Hampton Springs Park and what the intent. I'm here to serve the public, I'm here to serve the people, I'm here to serve the businesses. And it might not be a big deal to the county, but it could, if we pay a further to help the guy out with a few acres to expand his business. There's still 30+ acres out there. Let's put a museum out there. Put a museum out there and write up the history of the Hampton Springs Park. Give people something to go look at. But also work with your local businesses. If you're gonna sit on this board and you're gonna speak on wanting to bring businesses to this community and you want to help businesses and you get an opportunity to do it, then do just that. That's all I really had to say, clarity to this Hampton Springs. I'm not trying to wrong our community. I'm not trying to take a piece of history. I know a lot of don't go out there. I've spoken to the incident that was out there. To be honest with you, I didn't get 10 people a week that went by there. It don't matter. It's just the history of this community. It's still a piece of history. And I'm glad, you know what, wanting to bring, expand the business of this piece. Guess what? We brought that piece of property to surface. Do something with it now.
That's right.
Put a museum out there. Let's put something out there to put the history out of people.
That's right.
I mean, I don't have any to discuss it any further. I just really need to bring clarity. Stations made and misrepresentation of this board and this board's intent. So, there's no other comment. We're going to do the next
No,
item.
I have a comment.
Please.
So to begin with, this was on the agenda, I think at the last meeting, if I'm not mistaken. There was a lot of dialogue about why this land, or part of this land, if not all of it. So different ones said different things. Whether your comment was a point of reference or not, when the whistles blowed, you can't unblow it. You said it, you own it. So whatever it meant, I'm glad that you cleared it up tonight. I appreciate that. In terms of slander, nobody has intended to slander anybody. Nothing but the facts were told about what happened and what was said. And if it's said in public, then there's a record of what was said. Easy to go back and look at that. So, for me, I'm looking out after our history. Back in the 60s, the Board of County Commissioners at that time, they made a terrible mistake when they decided to tear down our courthouse and to tear down all those, and to cut down all the magnificent oak trees, and we lost a part of our history then. So here we are again, that a board someone brings it up to talk about selling another part of our history. And let me just say this. Last year, we lost our jobs. Our jobs were taken away from us last year. And for anybody to think that if you listen to what went on, that anybody on this board would advocate to sell any or part of Hampton Springs, that's our history. We don't want to sell another part of our history, not part of it, not the back 30 portion, whatever it is. We want to keep all of Hampton Springs. And so I stand by that. I stand by what was said. It's on the record. You can go back and listen to it for yourself.
I don't have anything else. I think I just cleared up the situation and just what was discussed. And I believe everybody pretty much heard me loud and clear. So I can sit here and go back and forth all night with this, but that's not where I'm at. I gave the intent of the board and the misrepresentation of this board, and that's where I stand. We'll move on to 19B. The board discussed animal shelter, agenda by Commissioner Beagle.
Over the past week, and I'm sure some of you, have got many calls and emails and texts from citizens and volunteer groups that have been complaining about the animal shelter. And what I like to do is I would like to share with you all just some of the things that have been sent my way, and then I'll give my opinion on that. But the Hearts for Hometown Dogs, I got this letter. It says, after 8 years, we at Hearts for Hometown Dogs are sad to announce that we are no longer volunteering at or assisting animal control. Taylor County remains out of date and out of touch with current standards and best practices unless and until animal control and those who oversee it make positive and necessary changes. Hearts for Hometown Dogs will not be there to save the animals. It has never been a true safe haven, but we at Hearts for Hometown Dogs did our best to make it one with our presence. Now it is not one at all. Over the years and through multiple staff turnovers, our relationship with the shelter became more and more strained. In order to save lives, we relied on the shelter to work with us. We both needed to do our parts to sustain this partnership. Animal control is not an easy job. It is physically and emotionally demanding, and we are not minimizing that. We needed their help and cooperation on top of their already demanding job, and sometimes they would accommodate us, and it helped save lives. We are grateful for that. Throughout these years, though, there have been many instances where staff were not fulfilling their basic duties as animal control officers. Volunteers would do their best to fill the gaps, but volunteers should not have to do their job for them. There have been multiple instances where the conditions have been neglectful and generally unacceptable. Kennels have been filthy, where animals had no water, dirty water, or not enough water. We know of times when former employees didn't even feed them. And most concerning, there have been multiple instances when animals suffered unnecessarily because they were either denied medical care by the shelter despite our pleas to pay for it, because the staff failed to notice it, or they failed to inform us of it. We oftentimes would only know about these medically needy animals because a volunteer was there to see it. Additionally, volunteers have consistently been treated poorly, made to feel unwelcome, and been subjected to hostile treatment from staff. Arbitrary rules have been set in place that bear no logic and actually hinders our efforts. The above are only a few instances of the many things wrong with animal control regarding how it is managed and staffed. There are many more. We have addressed our issues and concerns with the county supervisors, but nothing changes. There are only so many conversations you can have before you say enough is enough. Society as a whole has moved in a more humane direction. Animal control associations across the country encourage multiple municipal shelters to value and incorporate life-saving efforts in addition to their basic duties, whether through staff alone or with humane organizations like Hearts for Hometown Dogs. Hearts for Hometown Dogs has encouraged the shelter to educate themselves on best practices, to follow basic protocols, and to implement policies and practices that would better serve the community and the animals in it to no avail. We thank Animal Control for working with us and serving the community, but sincerely hope they take all the necessary steps to do better for the animals under their care and better serve the community. Another one is from volunteers at Rescue Dogs Dream. It is with great sadness that we are notified of the news that Hearts for Hometown Dogs has to break ties with the animal control of your county due to the irresponsible behavior of your county and the buck stops at the leaders of your county. That is you. They have put their hearts, much time, and their own money to help the local animals in your county, all at zero cost to the county. We are not in your county, but many Taylor County animals are in our county, adopted and in loving homes because of Hearts for Hometown Dogs. They do all They do all the posts on your county's animals to get them exposed, evaluate them, and transport them again all at no cost to your county. I have found the old saying, you can tell the character of a person by how they treat animals. This is true. Hearts for Hometown Dogs has saved so many animals, putting in 8 years saving your animals. Something needs to change in your county. Animals matter, and it's up to the commissioners to make changes. That's what you were elected to do. I pray you find a solution to this issue. If not, so many more healthy, wonderful animals will be killed. And then here's another one. I hope, dear Commissioner Figel, I hope this message finds you well. I'm writing to express my deep concern about the current state of Taylor County animal control, especially in light of the recent announcement from Hearts for Hometown Dogs that they will no longer be volunteering or assisting animal control due to ongoing issues. While I understand that our community is facing significant challenges, including the recent closures of the GP Mill and West Fraser Mill, which have caused economic strain, it is crucial that we do not allow these challenges to just moral and inhumane compromises. The conditions of animal control as described by Hearts for Hometown Dogs are unacceptable and do not reflect the values of our community. And it goes on pretty much with the same stuff. And then I've had, this is a citizen that says, I haven't felt compelled to write our county commissioner since we went through the bombing range fiasco, but here I am writing to our county commissioners once again. This email is close to my heart, and I ask that you fix the problem the best way you can. Our county has quite a few stray animals, being better now since moving to Taylor County 24 years ago. Since Taylor County allows hunting with dogs, I believe this is part of the problem. Our dog was a stray Walker Hound hunting dog that was abandoned, scared, and trying to find food or trying to keep away from people. We had to finally trap her to catch her. We contacted the owner, whose name was on the collar, who denied it was his dog, said the collar must have been stolen. We have had Lacey since 2016, providing her with health care and love. She was so scared, it has taken her years to trust us. She was abandoned because she is afraid of gunshots, making her useless to them. It touches my heart to know that there are other animals abandoned who need love and care and help in finding a new home. You, our county commissioners, are responsible to the citizens of Taylor County for the animal control. Our animal control is broken and needs guidance on hiring good workers to care for the animals, using best practices and basic protocols. You need to make sure there is input from the community and humane organizations to save the animals. A neighbor volunteered there years ago and was disgusted as to the care given the animals, and I'm sorry to hear that it's still working. As your county commissioners, you signed up for this job and you are responsible to fix the problem. I am sure the loss of revenue is hurting your county, but the problem needs to be fixed. You need to actively look into the complaints and come back to the county citizens with ways to fix the problem, as it is not going to go away. Any employee that does not do their job should be let go and another one hired to take care of the animals.
Yes.
Yes. I am sure there are people in our county that could use a job. Reach out to other counties surrounding Taylor and strive to be the best county of all in providing love and care to our stray animals. The animals did not create this problem, therefore they should not be punished. I'm sure if you put out a call to the citizens of Taylor County for help with care, food, exercise, etc., you would receive it. The people of Taylor County are loving and caring people, as shown through the years. They all came together to help one another. For example, the recent hurricanes. Please make our county animal control the best it is. It is your responsibility. And like I said, I've had a lot of emails and texts and phone calls from concerned citizens, and most everybody told me the same thing. It was the same story over and over. And I do know that a few years ago, at one time, a group from UF came. They came over to help us after the TV stations were here and reported different findings. and things got better for a little while. Then they returned to pretty much the same conditions. And I personally have discussed with staff, but with the administrator form of government that we have, commissioners cannot get into the day-to-day operations of the county. We can't tell our administrator who to hire, who to fire, how to discipline or any. That's her job. The only thing that we can do is make policies. So I just want everybody to understand that. I know that perhaps we can make all the policies in the world, but somebody's got to enforce the policies. So, I know that we can do better. Many of you have told me that we can do better, and I know that we can. And I know that some of you have already told me that you're willing to be on a committee to help, and I really appreciate y'all volunteering your time once again. I've heard some really good ideas of some things that can be done, and I'm all for it, whatever we can do to make our shelter better and to take better care of our animals.
You had a good committee with Hometown Dogs. They're one of the best committees you could possibly have had.
Who hires the people out there? Who's in charge of hiring?
So I think that whatever we decide tonight, if we can put a task force together, or somebody, I think, is gonna come up and speak, they might call it something other than a task force, but that may be a way to start. If somebody has to be at that shelter to answer that phone, or when y'all leave your messages, you deserve a call back.
Right.
Okay, it doesn't need to be, you call on Friday and it's Monday before you get a call back. You deserve a call back. The animals deserve a call back. And maybe we can help put something into place that will alleviate that problem. I don't want to hear of another dog that's been there for days and then the owner picks it up and the dog is suffering from a heat stroke and has to go straight to the vet's office. That shouldn't happen. I don't want to hear again that the volunteers have not been treated with respect and kindness. Y'all have been here to help us. We appreciate the help that you've given, and I'm sure that this board is going to be willing to do what we can to help this situation. Thank you.
May I speak?
Sure. If you'll come up, state your name and address.
Okay. My name is Peggy Sisk, and I've lived here a long time. And I know most of the people here. The problem we have is with dogs that are vicious. The 13th of this month, we have a dog in our neighborhood, pit bull, there's 2 of them. And that dog was under my car on my carport, and I couldn't even come out on my carport. It's already killed one neighbor's dog in their yard. It's maimed another dog through the fence in their yard. Nobody has done anything about that dog. They know who it belongs to, they don't do anything about it. And I'm gonna tell you something. I am all for animals. I'm gonna give you good news about that animal control place. I have been over there because I've donated to it. I've been over there. It is the cleanest one around. I've been to Tallahassee too. That's comparable with being cleaner. And that it was the cleanest one around. I bought a dog. I took a dog over there last year that somebody dumped some puppies over there. I paid to have it spayed, all but shots, and gave it to a man who couldn't afford to do that, and his had been killed. But the sad thing about it is this: people do not realize how many dogs are over there. But I had to call, the 13th of this month, I had to call animal control because that dog was under my car, on my carport, and I couldn't get out the door. It's vicious. It's already killed one dog and maimed another one. And nothing's been done about that dog. Well, they know who it belongs to. There's that little fella out there. I felt sorry for him. A little boy. I say a boy because that's what he was. I finally called a deputy to come out there, and he came. Because but you know what, they couldn't catch it. It was that vicious. They couldn't even catch it, one of those things that goes right. My next door neighbor, me, it maimed his dog through the fence now. And he had to have 5 staples put in his head. The neighbor next to that one, it killed his lab right there in the yard. And that dog was still loose. And nothing's done about it. Now, I'm not for euthanizing a dog, but I am for one that's like that. That dog does not need to be loose. Something needs to be done about it. I called Pam, and I told her how upset I was about it. Here I am in my house and can't even come out the door because of that dog. And know who it belongs to, they don't do a thing about it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
But I will say this thing about our animal control over there. I went over there because I was going to volunteer before I had this knee surgery. I went over there. That is the cleanest one. That place was clean. Where the dogs was, it was clean. They do the best they can do with what they have to do with. And they don't have a lot to do with, I can tell you that right now.
May I ask you one question? Did you call them before you went there, or you went there unbeknownst?
Do what now?
Did they know you was coming? When you went over there, did anybody know you was coming?
No. I called the sheriff's department because that boy couldn't handle that dog and I knew it. They sent a deputy immediately.
Did the animal shelter know you were coming to the shelter prior to you coming, or did you just pop in?
He came out there, the
No.
animal shelter. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
But did the animal shelter, when you went to the animal shelter, did the animal shelter know you were coming prior to you coming?
No, they did not.
That's what Commissioner Dent.
No, they did not, Thomas, because I went over there to pick this man out a dog. His had, when we had lightning hit a tree and fell on his dog and killed it. And he couldn't afford all the things that went with it. Well, really, I couldn't either. But I bought him and I got one of those dogs. And believe it or not, it's a well-bred dog. It's not just a piece of junk. And
Dogs aren't junk.
spayed and everything.
Dogs
So I couldn't give it that place. In Tallahassee. I've been to Tallahassee. People deserve some credit for that.
Okay.
And
Thank you, ma'am.
I appreciate Pam, I called her.
I will.
Because that's a dangerous dog and something needs to be done about that.
Is he out there now? He's in your neighborhood now?
You know?
The dog in your neighborhood now?
Yes. And just, I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. It was under my car and I couldn't shoot it because I didn't want to shoot my car. I will shoot it. I'm not gonna be, it's a pit bull.
Has he got a collar on him?
I call her.
No. He had, nobody's looked, is his name on the collar?
They can't get to it.
Animal control's been out there, they can't catch it.
They can't catch it. So they need to do something to it. They need to do something to it because I'm gonna tell you something. It's not gonna be back at my house anymore.
Thank you, Miss Peggy. You got something? You go ahead, you got something to say?
Thank y'all for listening.
Okay. Name and address.
My name is Chris Olson, and I'm part of Hearts for Hometown Dog. My address is actually in Madison County. I've spent a lot of time at the shelter in the last 8 years or so, working with Melinda and all the rest of the animal control people. And what I feel really needs to be addressed is a systemic problem. You know, I don't think you can blame Melinda for not doing this or not doing that. We have to have more money from you, from the county, to hire people for a decent wage. Nobody wants to work at animal control. There's a terrible compassion fatigue. It's a lousy job. It's hot. It's true, all the things that happen there. That is true. I'm not disputing that at all, but I would like to present a solution to this. As far as Ms. Fisk and saying the shelter is clean, it's a lot cleaner than it used to be. She might have come on a day when Andrea was there, because Andrea drove every day for the last 5 or 6 years from Valdosta to the Taylor County Animal Control and worked like a slave.
Free.
Now, for free. She put her money in, we've all put our money in to the shelter. We need to get a higher level of personnel there that has some compassion. The lady's dog that had a heat stroke, she called and wanted to come up and get her dog. Let her get her dog. No, you gotta wait till Monday to get the dog. That's ridiculous. We need somebody who is a liaison with the community that can promote better relations.
Why was the dog at the shelter to begin with?
He got out, but everybody knew whose dog he was. He's a 12-year-old lab with a heart condition. They knew who the dog belonged to, and she called right away to get the dog. And the director at the animal control said, no, you've got to wait till Monday morning at 10 o'clock. Now, that doesn't make sense to me. Let's have a little cooperation with our community members and the shelter. Now, the shelter is animal control. It is not a rescue. I do agree with that, and I understand that. And a lot of really good things have happened in the last 5 or 6 years. But we're very far from where we need to be. But it does take money, and I realize everybody has a terrible financial crisis. But something has to happen. Maybe we should change our policy. We need to look at our policies. Maybe we don't need to take everybody's dog that they surrender. People need to take some responsibility for their animals. They have a litter of puppies and they just dump them. Now, this is wrong, totally. Is that like 3 minutes or what? I'm saying, let's look at the policies. Let's change them to be more realistic and have a little bit more control. Lawanda is at the mercy of all the community. Why didn't you come and get these dogs? I want to drop these dogs off. These dogs belong to these people. They need to have responsibility for them and take care of them.
Spay and neuter.
Spay and neuter. We at Hearts want to take our resources, which basically come from all these people, by the way. They donate. If you guys ever want to look at our financials, you need to take a look at it. How much money all of you have donated to Hearts for Hometown Dogs and for the care and the love for these animals. It's astounding to do some spay and neuter. This is the bottom of the problem, the crux of it. People do not spay and neuter their dogs because they don't have enough money. If we could get something organized, I actually am a grant writer, and I know you guys have a grant writer. The only problem is, as a shelter, as an entity, Hearts for Hometown Dogs is a 501c3, but we don't have a physical location. And so anybody who is going to grant us any money wants to see a brick and mortar. So the county will have to partner with us in that respect. And that begins to get extremely complicated. I'd like to simplify those things. Take away some of these crazy rules and, we give dog food to people who can't feed their dogs. We get donations and we give it to them. And I feel like that's what we should do. But we've had a lot of push and pull. Is that your food, or is that the shelter food? Is that, let's all work together for the betterment of the shelter. I mean, this is a systemic problem. We need to get better people. Luana can't hire anybody in there. Nobody wants that job. They don't make any money. This is a serious issue. Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth.
We got one behind you.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. I have a unique perspective as a transplant to this area. I've only been here for 3 years. Yes, my name is Wendy Horn, and I've only been here for 3 years, but I have been very disheartened by what I've seen as far as animal neglect and mistreatment in this town. And it was pretty bad in Kansas where I moved from, but it's actually worse here. And I know a lot of that is cultural and you need education, but at a certain point, if people don't care about animals, they need consequences. Law enforcement needs to fine them severely. If they're breeding dogs back to back and dumping the puppies and dumping the mom when they're done selling what puppies can sell and making their money, they need to be charged with animal cruelty because that is animal cruelty. When I have called law enforcement in the past, and I'm embarrassed to admit, I cared more about the property that the dog destroyed on my land than I did about the dog. The officer told me we can't do anything unless the dog is actively attacking you. And I told him, can you try and find who the owner is? No, we don't do that. We only care if the dog is actively attacking somebody. And my views have changed very much. I feel like I was a more selfish person back then because I've seen such severe animal suffering. I mean, skeletal dogs roaming this town, begging people for food. It is a disgrace. It is a disgrace. It is a holocaust for dogs. And I'm going to try not to cry because it's so wrong to see an animal suffering that severely that they have to just roam the town and nobody stops, nobody cares, nobody picks them up. The most they'll do is post a picture of the dogs on Facebook and say, somebody come get your dogs. And it's the same people over and over again on Facebook that are losing their dogs. In other words, they're keeping them in a yard that they know the dog can get out. And they do it over and over again, and then they complain that they're a victim because they lost their dog. They're not the victim, the dog is. They need to keep their dog inside of their house and take it out and walk it on a leash so that the dog is protected. And I feel like animals' rights are being violated so horrifically in this town. And I would like to see law enforcement back this community that cares about animals, because we're a small community, unfortunately. We're the minority, I think. But we're willing to get loud because we're tired of seeing animals suffering, and it needs to stop. We need you guys to pour money into spay-neuter programs, not just for dogs, but for cats. Cats matter too. Why are cats always the last priority? I have seen starving skeletal cats in this town, and the only thing I have heard people say that they're willing to do to help is I'll come out and shoot them. That is a disgrace. Okay, these animals have feelings, they have needs, they get hungry like us. Yeah, they're grouchy and aggressive. You would be too if somebody used you for fighting as a bait dog. You would be grouchy too if you were starved every day. You'd be grouchy too if you run to houses every day begging for food and no one gives you the food. They just shout, get out of my yard. I'm no longer that person. I'm now the person that will stop and help to feed them because I realize how badly they're suffering. And I hope that, I'm sorry I'm emotional, but these animals matter just as much as the people in this county. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you to everybody. To let you know, I voted to get every one of you here. My name's Peggy Blanton. I work for y'all at the land, at the roll-off site. Appreciate the job. Just one moment to the older lady that come up here and talked about the dog in the car. Well, okay, well, that's a human problem. Okay, I'm sorry. That's a problem that animal control should have been called to go out there and deal with it, but most people just want to kill the animal and leave them on the wayside. Now, in the past, I'm a dog rescuer too. I have 20 dogs. I pick them up off the street all the time, hunting dogs all the time. There's no responsibility for it, and these people need to be held accountable for mistreating these animals. I live on disability and the hours I get from y'all at the roll-off site. Many animals are dropped off, many. They want to drop them off with no food. On the way over here, a man asked me why am I wearing an orange shirt, and I explained to him why. And he told me an address where he's called animal control numerous times, a sick dog laying in the yard, and nothing's done about it. Now, a couple of years ago, when they had a younger fellow working there, I even explained to him, went there and met everybody, talked to him, because I'm not gonna stop to my last breath helping these animals. Because they are God's creatures, and it is everybody's responsibility to do that. And it defines you as a person, how you treat animals. Well, he would go out there and do nothing. He would not do his job. And I know what his job is supposed to be. And I know animal control has a lot on their hands. I am going to contact them so I can volunteer. And I have enough. I have 20 animals that I'm taking care of. But I want to volunteer. But I can't go in the room where they euthanize them. But I can do everything else. And I'm not one to turn my head aside. If I see something, I will say something because it needs to get right. Rules are made to be enforced. But it's everyone's problem. We all need to stop and take the time and help these animals. It's so sad. I have to take medication because of it, because of what I see, the cruelty with the animals. And it breaks my heart. And I just want you to know if there's anything I can do. But these people, I don't got 100% proof. I'm working on it. There's 2 fighting rings right here. And I've already had a name thrown out. What's being done about it? These people are shipping these dogs to Georgia. They got crates of them out in the woods, shipping them to Georgia to fight them and come back. It's happening out in Foley. This needs to be followed up and investigated. We need some good, passionate people to work for animal control, and I am one of them. And we really need to screen these people better. And I don't know, is there cameras up inside of animal control so everybody's held accountable in the kennels? Do we know that? That needs to happen. Yes. The community needs to see what's going on. Not to pick on animal control because you've got your hands full, I understand that. But there's a lot of people out here that want to help. But I, for one, am not going to stand aside and watch it not be done. Please. Accountability. The lady that was up here earlier, killed the dog, no. The owner needs to be held responsible. The owner needs to go to jail. Owner. They need bigger fines. It's not being done. They're being slapped on the wrist. Change the policy. Yeah, I'm picking up all these animals, and I don't even have funding coming in. I worked for you so I could feed them. I don't have funding coming in. And I'm at I can't even take no more, but I still do. I still do, and I reach out to people to help me keep doing what I'm doing, and it's very important. It really is, because a dog spelled backwards is God. That means something to me. All animals, and it's a commandment for us to take care of them. It defines us as a human being. Amen. Amen. I thank every one of you for being here and listening to us. Please, please, let's make some changes for these animals. Please. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner, for listening to us. My name is Lois Paget. I've been a volunteer at the animal shelter for over 15 years. I have seen an ebb and flow at the shelter. People who come in and are wonderful, they really do their jobs, and then you have another group that comes in and they're not as concerned as the previous has been. And there's an ebb and flow that goes. Right now we have a coordinator who has a lot of experience. He has a technical trained person. And I think she can really step up and get things organized and ready to go. I'm hopeful that will happen. But when you talked about UF coming in, they did come in. They made a number of changes for us that did not cost a lot of money. We were able to implement them. But as time went on, they seemed to fade away. And people weren't consistent about keeping up with what's going on. When I first started out there, and I have gone to work, and the animals could not eat their food because of all the cockroaches in the dish. And one of the vets, Dr. Fletcher, I complained to him about it, and he had an exterminator come in and do some spraying and take care of it. I have worked out there when I picked up dead rats out of the bin to wash the food and water dishes. And Heather got a hold of someone who would come in and put out medication that would just take care of the rats and wasn't harmful to the dogs. But it took her a while to get the money to do that. Even though we were aware of what was going on and she knew what was going on, she could not take care of the issue because she couldn't get the money to do the job. How much does it cost to have somebody come in and put some eradication that would get rid of the rats? and we things are better, and there is an ebb and flow with the help. You get someone in, you train him, and decide that's not what he wants to do, or he's not doing his job, and he's like, oh, you wait 6 weeks, 2 months to get somebody hired, and that person has to be trained. If you can't keep your people who are trained, then you're going to lose an effective personnel. Thank you for listening to what we've had to say, and I certainly hope you take it to heart, and you can take some steps to do this. Thank you.
My name is Adriana Cruz. I live in Valdosta, Georgia. I'm a volunteer with Hearts for Hometown Dogs and Taylor County Animal Control. I just wanted to pretty much introduce y'all to us, and I'm not sure if y'all are all familiar with our organization. I'm sure you are now. But just wanted to read this for you. Hearts for Hometown Dogs is an all-volunteer 501c3 nonprofit founded in 2016 to promote awareness of homeless animals in Taylor County, to help coordinate their rescue or adoption, and to fundraise sponsorship money to help alleviate the financial burden incurred by rescues that take in dogs from Taylor County Animal Control with heartworms. Our mission has since grown significantly. We now have our very own rescue van so that we can transport the homeless animals to no-kill rescues around Florida in order to save as many as we can for people that see the nation due to lack of space. We also pay for heartworm tests, vaccines, and parvo tests when the shelter runs out, and emergency or urgent veterinary visits to stabilize sick or injured animals until the rescue can receive them. Our volunteers would go to the shelter to do what was necessary to save these lives. That included dog testing, which is ensuring that animals are friendly with other people, other animals, etc. Taking photos and videos to showcase and promote the animals to increase their chances of getting adopted or rescued, and taking them out of their kennels to get much needed fresh air and freedom, and to provide enrichment to enhance their lives while they're at the shelter. Our work didn't stop at the shelter. From there, we would work tirelessly editing photos, creating bios, contacting our rescue partners that we built relationships with over the years, so that if they had space, we could coordinate the transport to drive them down to them. And most of those transport are often multiple hours each way, sometimes up to 5 hours each way. We've made a major impact on the community over the last 8 years. Through our efforts, we've saved close to 5,500 dogs and cats from animal control. That's not including ones directly from the community that are sometimes surrendered basically to us and don't want transport immediately. That also doesn't include, like adoptions that will be facilitated kind of directly. To date, Hearts for Hometown Dogs has spent $204,428.61 on our efforts as a whole, thanks to donations from our wonderful community and supporters. We really couldn't do it without them, and we are grateful for the animal lover community, and we would really like to see better for the animals in Taylor County. So.
If you will, state your name and address.
Yes, sir. My name is Anna Marie Winstead. I am a resident of Taylor County. I've been my whole life. I live down 2860 US Highway 27 East. I've been there all but 5 years of my life, and I didn't leave until well after I was an adult. This has been, like I just said, home for all but 5 years. I returned to this city in 2022 to take care of my grandmother, who is currently 93 years old. My parents, who more than a few people in this room I'm sure are acquainted with, have dedicated my entire life to caring for the people of this county, whether that be with fire rescue, EMS, or when they did their time working at the prison as instructors and medical staff there. I grew up immersed in caring for other people, and through my father's mother, I also learned to care for our four-legged companions. Recently, I got in touch with Andrea to make donations to the animal shelter, and through that, ended up submitting an application to volunteer and foster. I am not a dog person per se, although I do love them. I prefer cats. I have 5 kittens from the animal shelter at my house right now, 4 of which I bottle fed from about just shy of 2 weeks old. They didn't even have eyes open when I got them. As a native Perry, Florida resident who has wanted to work with animals my entire life, I cannot sum up into words how utterly appalled and disappointed I am in the evidence being brought against our local animal shelter this evening. I challenge our commissioners to look me in the eyes and tell me that this is the best our county has to offer, not only our residents and citizens, but also the animals that live here. Who I would like for us to keep in mind are only here because the human members of our community would not or were unable to, for various reasons, care for them properly. Our animal shelter is supposed to be their last line of hope in a world that is otherwise uncaring, and it would appear that we have failed them. We need to put our money where our mouth is on this issue and remember that the least of these deserves adequate care. I do not expect perfection from any person. It's not in our realm of possibility to be perfect or to find immediate or easy or even necessarily cheap solutions. We have to work with, as somebody else said, what we've got. I do know that the current state of affairs is unacceptable if even a fraction of what has been said is true. It is in our capacity for caring, in our sense of community, for being able to adapt and change, we may find the root of our innate humanity. It is in our ability to be compassionate and in our collective call to serve our community, as the present board members, I hope, count themselves among. My own family has generationally been entrenched in serving this community. The world needs people to care more than ever now, and we have a responsibility to be the good guys, as this world has enough of the bad ones. On behalf of those without a voice that our county has already failed, I feel we deserve better. And I thank you for your time.
Years before Hearts for Hometown Dogs.
State your name.
I'm sorry, Martha Wiggins, 801 East Leon Street. We had already brought together a group to take care of the animal shelter. We did basically the same thing that they did. They came along, they were younger, they had more, more stuff that held more help. And so, we just kind of backed down. Lois is a member of our group, and she volunteers every week. But, I don't want you to feel like we're trying to browbeat you, because we're not. We're just trying to get for these animals. It's just, I'm sorry, I love them, and we'll fight for them. But we want y'all's okay and your help. We need money.
More of a budget. We need a budget.
Yes, we need a budget. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Cecile Hance. I live at Broadway Drive in Perry, north side of town. And I guess when I saw the Facebook post from Hearts for Hometown Dogs, I was very distressed that they were going to pull away from the animal shelter, because it's really animal control. They have made it, to me, the volunteers have made it a shelter and a safe haven to get dogs and cats to other rescues where they're not going to be euthanized. So, we have a very urgent need for Hearts for Hometown Dogs to work with animal control. I'd like to see us somehow make sure that the liaison there can happen again, that we can work together. 2 of my best doggies came from animal control, but I tell you, it was tough getting the animals, because you had to go to animal control, then you had to go to the courthouse to pay something, and then go back and forth. It's like, why are y'all making this so hard? And I don't know if it's still that way or not, but because my dogs seem to live long lives, I haven't gotten another one lately from them, from other rescues. But, I know we opened in prayer tonight, and I just want to bring to your attention, Genesis 1:26 gives man dominion over the animals and the land. We are to be stewards of our animals and the land. You know, if you're not, if you're not a good, Proverbs 12:10 says the righteous care for their animals. And Exodus 28:20, the Sabbath rest, God even provided Sabbath rest for our animals. So animals matter to God, they matter to people, and I want us to work in our community together to try to, resurrect what we've had with Hearts for Hometown Dogs, and to see that animal control runs better than it is right now. I do think we need money to enact that, and I don't have the heart to work at animal control, because every time I've read the job description, it talks about you must be able to euthanize animals. I'm like, well, this job is not for me. But what I've seen and heard tonight is, seems like we've got some policy things to work on different levels, like policy about how people treat animals, writing some policy and maybe even some law enforcement regulations to enact legal proceedings against people that are not treating their animals. Bringing responsibility to own up to what you're doing. Have law enforcement able to enforce the law and have animal control respond. And I have been one of those people that call animal control and nobody answers. And the volunteers have come to help me, when I've seen animals tied to fences and things like that. But I think we do need money for animal control for more employees, and just whatever it takes, whether it's a workshop or getting UF back in here, something, get a group together to identify things that we can actually do, tasks that we can do and make a difference. And I certainly appreciate y'all listening to us tonight.
You will state your name and address.
Thank you, and I have dealt with Andrea many times out there, and I love her to death, and she's the best. And I've been out there, and I went there one time, and for her to look at a dog, and a lamb, and the guy come out there, and he was like, it's strung up, and I mean, some of them out there are so rude, and my friend has a fence around her yard, and her neighbor, and she had pit bulls, which pit bulls are my favorite. Pit bulls and labs, they're babies. Pit bulls are lovable babies, and they were just lovable. And she just had puppies, and they were all given away when they were old enough. And they took the mom, the neighbor kept calling, and their little control was out there. They kept calling. They killed the little one, the baby, and because he was aggressive, he was taken away from his mom, and they euthanized him. And I mean, I'm not for you killing, euthanizing animals. I'm not mean. Animals are my world. Animals, I work with animals, and I'll never work with humans again. I love animals so much. Never. I love them, and I'll do anything I can to help out there. I'll volunteer. I get off at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I go in, I get off by 2. I'll walk your dogs, and to make sure they're walked, they're loved, and we have two chihuahuas, boxer, and a German Shepherd, and some German Shepherd boxer mixes too. And they are very well taken care of, and they're inside. And I just want the killing to stop. It just breaks my heart to euthanize them. And, I want to volunteer, but I can't take the killing, the euthanasia of it. That's just not for me. Where I work, that's their home forever, and we don't adopt ours out because the good Lord knows they've been through enough. And we have 50-something dogs. 6 years when I started out there. And it's now we're down in the population of cats, and that's your home forever. We buried them out there. They're buried out there. So, I want to do whatever I can do, and I don't want to see Andrea leave because she's the best one they had that was out there, and I love her today. Her and Lacey. Lacey is another one. Actually called Lacey the other day and talked to her. And she said she had been gone for a year, and she's back. And I don't know if that was the other day. No, I don't know if she's still there. But that one right back there is everything for the animals. And I give her all the praise and glory for all she's done, driving all the way from Valdosta. Thank you. Thank you.
She's gonna make it short. I'm kind of like her. So, what Hartford Home Dogs does is a public service. This community has relied on us and our presence to animal control as they felt it made it a safer place because they knew we were working hard to get the animals out for adoption or rescue. We have also served as a buffer between the community and animal control, and we try to keep pets together with their owners rather than surrender them to the shelter. For example, if they need food, and some people do have to surrender their pets because they cannot afford to feed them. And we provide food for them and do anything we can to keep the pets with the owners. Our volunteers also would post the strays at animal control on the Facebook in hopes of reuniting them with their owners to keep the kennels open so there wasn't any euthanasia going on at the shelter. Our presence has also boosted animal control's reputation within the community because we always defended animal control anytime anybody's criticized them because we know it's a hard, thankless job and we thank them for everything that they do. We know through experience that we can't say them all, but we desperately are trying. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Pat Brandon, and I volunteer with the Hearts for Hometown Dogs. I just had a question. The county can only afford 2 people to work at the shelter. They can't be in the office and answer the phone because they have to be busy cleaning the pens, stuff like that. That's what we would go up there and do.
is help them, answer the phone, feed the dogs, anything they need. But the county, they should be able to afford more than just 2 people. Y'all had 3 at one time.
They have 4 of them.
Y'all have 3 now?
We have a vacancy for 1 position and 2 filled now. So we are budgeted for 3 full-time positions.
Don't you think it should be more? All the trees downtown, you don't need those little trees. Take that money. I mean, they're cute little trees, the little benches and all that are cute. But if they could save a life, couldn't you hire 1 more?
Amen. So the trees and the benches aren't affiliated with the county. I understand.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, take their money and put it there. Because it seems like those people work. Even when they're off, they gotta go in. And we try to help them as much as we can. But if they tell us we can't come in except from 10 to noon, because that's when we're allowed in there, you can't clean up cat mess in 2 minutes. It takes a lot. I'm a cat person. I like to clean the cat house. They would scoop the litter and reuse it. It's not reusable litter. You throw it away and put new litter. That stops them from dying, getting diseases, viruses. I just wanted to question, why do y'all have so few people there? There's a lot of people. I mean, the guys from the jail come and help. 2. Why not bring 6? Chain their cell. I'm trying not to, because I'm a very bad person. Take 6 people over there. If you're worried about them, lock them in the building. Let them see how hot it gets there. My car was parked there, and it was 120 degrees in my car. Where those dogs are at, there's no air conditioning. There's one big raggedy fan. And that's the most pitiful raggedy fan I've ever seen.
Amen.
The cat house. The cats were in there for 2 weeks. No air conditioner. I collected money to buy an air conditioner, and y'all finally bought one. But I was ready to buy it myself. Take them cats out. All the kittens died. Heat stroke. They were cooked. But if you had more people, some could take care of the cats, some take care of the dogs, someone answer the phone. I'm talking. Thank you.
Have any of y'all been to the animal shelter?
Yes.
No, I mean the board. I know the people up here, commissioners.
Yeah, any of the commissioners.
Any of the commissioners.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Hudson. I have just relocated to Taylor County. I have had the opportunity to go to the shelter. I have viewed a few dogs. So here's where I, as a citizen, and I'm going to speak for the other citizens in this room that won't voice this. There needs to be accountability for employees that work there. Our tax-paying dollars employ those people, and so we should have a right to say, if you have these people employed and they're not fulfilling their jobs, for instance, councilmen, women, there's a young lady right there in a green shirt. This is the lady that you guys have hired there now. I've been in there twice. I've spent countless hours there learning dogs, but it wasn't due to the county broadcasting these animals to try to rescue or any of that. It was due to the hometown or Heart for Hometown Dogs. So if they're taking away, they're redacting themselves from actual helping because of policies that need to be implemented or changed, then I, the citizen, want change as well. I want these policies, I want these things fixed so that way they stay, because without them, it is not the most humane place.
You're here. Yes.
Okay? I have viewed other animal shelters, not humane societies. You can go into these humane societies, view every animal there, tell them what animal you'd like to see, meet. They bring them out, they let you talk, meet with them, whatever. This animal shelter, you cannot do that. You cannot go inside there. They will not let you walk through there. Why? There's a policy, right? That they have a mission statement. They do not follow this mission statement. I've seen it. I've witnessed things that I shouldn't have witnessed. And also the tension that's in that office, it's very unpleasant. I have my children there. I have a 9 and a 7-year-old. Our hearts were set on this one dog. Obviously, we rescued him. He was on the euthanized list. We were being educated for the possibility of heartworms by the volunteer, not by your employees. Once we received the information that was shouted across the room while we were in the middle of a conversation, that the dog was positive, she didn't come out to educate me. She didn't come to disclose any kind of information. So we need to also educate, okay? I don't know anything about heartworms. I've always had my animals on heartworm prevention. Now, the extent this dog is going through is a whole other story. But we have to start somewhere. And if we're not going to start within the employees or your animal shelter, we're not going to give the quality care that they need, then why are we going to fund it? I feel that.
There's no one to work. You guys don't get it. There's no one to work in the shelter. Nobody wants to work there.
I personally would volunteer. I spoke with Miss LaWanda.
It is hot.
I know it's hot.
It's hot as hell.
But, I mean, you got a building that's full, that's air conditioned. Why can't you put kennels in there and see the staff actually come out? I've been there for hours, and when I was there, not one staff member was outside. Not one. So, I'll leave it at that. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
My name is Catherine Albritton. I'm a Taylor County resident. I've also volunteered out at the animal shelter, and the biggest problem I've seen is the whole atmosphere. You've got, I don't know how many people that are willing to spend their time not getting paid for anything. They're volunteering. But when they come out there to volunteer, everybody gives them a whole go away, we don't want you here kind of vibe. It makes it very difficult to serve the animals, because that's what we're there for. We're not there to, serve animal control. We're there trying to save and care for the animals. And they seem to make it incredibly difficult just to do that. I mean, you've got, like I said, many people that give up their time. And also I don't know where the numbers are as far as how many adoptions are made from the animal shelter. Because they don't regularly post what animals are there and available. They've got a whole don't even come here vibe. They've got everything locked up tight. They don't answer the phones. How do you adopt an animal when you can't even get somebody on the phone to let you in the gate, to even see what's there? I mean, just something needs to change. This is just getting ridiculous. This has been going on for years, and nobody seems to care because nothing changes. When are we going to stand up for the animals and do something about it? Thank you.
My name is Kelly Dixon Taylor. I'm from the area, of course. Most of everything that's been said, I would have said myself, but I'm just mainly here because of the Facebook post that I shared. It really broke my heart. I'm a huge animal lover, along with my brother, my entire family. I've saved many on the side of the street. I'll be willing to do anything I can to help. Go down there with water.
all of my animals get ice in their water. And it's just sad to me. And if we could just get some help for these people, I'll do whatever I can. Thank you.
Could I say one other thing? Oh, you go ahead if someone's going to talk. Okay. I'd just like to say one other thing. That the volunteer process needs to be streamlined. It's a little bit complicated. The application is the same application that people who are going to work for the county fill out, so it's very laborious. If we could just streamline that volunteer application, that would help a lot to be able to get people in. And if we had some kind of organization at the shelter, when people volunteer, they want to come in and do something. They don't want to stand around. They could say, hey, could you, these are the jobs that need to be done today. That would help out a lot.
A caller. Caller. Blank Angela. Big Blank.
Hi, I'm Angela Castellucci. I live in 5990 East Salem, Florida. I'm an animal lover. My husband and I are both pet parents. And when this issue came up, I felt compelled to at least offer a few comments. Now, I do make my living writing, but this is such a subject close to my heart. I turned to him and I said, honey, you've got to help me with this. And he did, and he came up with some words I'd like to share with you. Him quoted already quoted Mahatma Gandhi, who said that the greatness of a nation is judged by the way its animals are treated. Well, it's expensive from a financial standpoint to operate a compassionate animal shelter. And believe me, I understand your budget, and I understand the cuts we're looking at. It's difficult to find employees, and it's something that most people, frankly, just prefer to ignore. It is necessary. These defenseless animals didn't let people down, they were let down by people. Yes. Thousands of animals are left pets in forever homes, and I can attest to that. I have 4. That's why I'm not allowed to go to the shelter anymore. And thanks to the hard work of animal control and a lot of volunteers. We invested our time and our money with Hearts for Hometown Dogs. And my husband was a driver who helped transport.
How many animals? 300?
He got about 800.
800.
But we're not keeping too big of a count. But it was, the record was for every transport he did, we did get a dog brought home. So there is no good reason. So like I said, thanks to the hard work. Getting these loved animals in forever homes, that's the goal. There's no good reason for that not to be the objective today, which I know you've had a lot brought before you. But it's something that together we can work on today, and that we can make it our goal for tomorrow. If a committee or task force is put together, we are certainly behind. Stepping up and volunteering, we want to do more than just come up and say, hey, fix this. We want to be part of the solution. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to everybody. Thank you for everybody who came and supported our animals and our volunteers and our shelter, because we know it's a thankless job and it's a no-win situation. But we're here to help. So please, take advantage of us. Thanks.
Caller 1859.
Caller 1859, if you will, please state your name and address.
Hey Jamie, this is Lee Newman in Salem, Florida, and I just wanted to call and speak on behalf of the animal shelter and the actual experience I had. Last year we had 4-H pig go missing. It was Addison. After nearly a month, animal control was notified that that pig had been found. They did not have to go get it, but they did. Junior was notified. He needed help getting the pig. I went up there. The conditions of those pens were just as Ms. Peggy mentioned. They were clean. This was on a Saturday. We did not have to wait until the Monday. The water went like they had been sprayed out before we got there. The gentleman had unloaded the pig. He had given the pig feed. He had given the pig water. He had done everything in his power that he could for that pig. I know Mr. Dance asked her if he was coming. They did know we were coming, but there was no evidence that they cleaned anything before we got there. So she was correct in saying that it was clean. And again, I know there's been a lot of talk about what they're not doing, and I just wanted to share the experience that I've had with them, that they went above and beyond, out of their way to help the child with the pig that had been missing that they found. And I found the condition clean, and that they had to try to do everything they could for this pig and return it back safely to the owner, which we did.
Thank you.
And then caller 1592.
Order 1592, if you will, state your name and address.
This is Benjamin Blue, 1968 Abner Lane. I'll keep this brief, but we obviously have a lot of people in this community who care a lot about this situation, who have given a lot of their time and money to assist at animal control. If those people have been made to feel unwelcome at animal control, either because of personnel or conditions in the shelter, then the county has an obligation to do whatever we need to do to correct that. It's unacceptable to me that this many people have given their time and resources and have been made to feel this way where they no longer feel welcome in the shelter. So I would encourage whatever oversight or action is necessary to correct that, because we should not be turning away the people who are so eager to help. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Any comments from the board? Go ahead.
Okay. For all of y'all that talked about funding, nobody has come to the board and asked for funding. No additional funding has been asked for. Nobody has asked for more employees to be hired. So I think that the board would be receptive to providing more funding as when we can. And certainly if we need more employees, then we need more employees. But I think one of the problems is that the pay scale is very low. Okay, so, and I know since for the last few years, I have tried since the state of Florida said we're going to go to $15 an hour. I've tried every budget season to get these employees up to where they're supposed to be. We've added $1, $2, and a little bit here and there. The problem is that we have, some think that we have to give everybody the same raise. And I think the law said that it was intended to raise the people at the lower end up so they have a decent wage and they're not living on the poverty level. So that's where I am. I would like to see all the people in the county that are below $15 an hour raised to 15. That would help out some, hopefully to get people that would stay perhaps. So if, I'm willing to add a little more funding if we're asked, but nobody has come, no staff has asked us to give more money to animal control.
How do we need to do that? What's the process? Because we're asking now.
Well, usually it comes from staff, and they come to us during budget season, and they present their budgets. Each department has a budget, and it's presented to us. And a lot of departments, they ask for increases every year. They list out what they need for their organization, and it comes before us. Seldom do we deny these needs.
Everyone at the school district, even our custodians, make $15 an hour.
We need to be doing the same thing now.
I know that's a hurtful thing for your budget, and you guys have a very rich insurance plan, which we don't. So there's a little bit of give and take there. I'm not sure how you can do that.
LaWanda, are you in charge of sort of the animal control?
Yes, and I would like,
to ask the board for some money. So I will say several years ago, actually, the budget for animal control was increased some. And that was so that we could institute a vaccination program because Hearts for Hometown Dogs notified us that they would no longer be able or willing to cover the vaccinations. So that was placed into the budget and the board did fund that. And if I could speak to some numbers, and let me back up a little bit. I was absolutely blindsided when the Facebook post was shared with me. Because during the summer months, there were well over 200 texts between myself and some of the Hearts for Hometown Dogs volunteers. And so I was very disappointed when I learned through a Facebook post that was sent to me that Hearts for Hometown Dogs would no longer partner with animal control. I was completely unaware of it until then. When the main volunteer sent me her resignation, she then at that time disclosed allegations and I told her that I would investigate it, which I did, but that was on July 30th. I was not expecting them to sever ties, and I'm heartbroken because I know what they've done for the shelter. I know what they've done for the dogs and cats in Taylor County. But that being said, I will say that when I look over the past 3 years of the animal control budget, because I know one of the allegations was that vet care was not provided to the animals, perhaps. In 2022, $221 was spent for vet care. In 2023, it was $129. Now keep in mind, we get a very good discount from our local vets. But in 2024 to current, it's $1,127. So I feel like the numbers do speak that we are providing vet care. This year to date, we have spent $2,200 on supplies, which is things like vaccinations, heartworm tests, parvo tests. So, and when I look at the unfortunate consequence of running an animal control shelter, euthanasia, the numbers are stable. There has not been an increase in euthanasia. They are where they are, and I know that is in a large part due to the efforts of Hearts for Hometown Dogs.
How do you think that number is going to go up now that they're no longer a part of it?
I did not find out about this until Friday through a Facebook post. I did reach out to some of the members of Hearts for Hometown Dogs and did not get a response. So that happened Friday.
Your numbers, though, imply a little over $1,000 for the year of 2024. I went to a low budget, or what would be the proper name for this? Low cost to have my dog treated for heartworms. I spent $500 today. That was for one treatment. The next time he goes back, it's going to cost me $1,000, and he has to stay there 3 days. So, do you say that these are high numbers that you're spending?
I did not say they were high numbers. I was just reading.
So let's ask. You're a person of staff. Can you not ask the board for help?
Who has our budget? What did we spend last year in that care?
We don't have it by
I
last year.
took
We got it through the whole
a cat
10 years.
from the shelter and paid myself, paid Dr. Owens to help that cat from the shelter because it was dying.
What about all the
And y'all didn't pay for it, I did, because the shelter, we didn't have the money.
We give a lot to Dr. Owens and Dr. Sapp.
I wondered what part of that care is paying the vets to euthanize.
That's a separate number, so it is not.
How much is that number?
It has, do you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay. So in 2022, it was $1,700, around $1,700. It was the same number, it looks like, in around the same number in 2023. And year to date, it's been about $1,500.
Dr. Sapp does it.
I believe Dr. Sapp provides most of the care, and he does give us a very generous discount.
Yes. Well, over the last 8 years, according to this, we've spent almost $60,000 in vet care. That we've gotten from people, you all. Right. Wow.
In vet care, not.
That's for, broken legs, this and that, so. And he does give us a very good discount.
And I'm not denying that. Hearts has always stepped up to take these animals and offer them that type of care.
Can I ask you a question? The shelter runs out of shots, vaccinations, and all the time. They run out. Do they ask you for more?
It's not, Gary, do you want to answer that? I don't think it's a budget issue. Right. Right.
Because we furnished stuff and all for it because they didn't have it. And the puppies needed to be tested and all that.
Right.
And they said it was because y'all wouldn't supply the stuff they needed.
That's not my understanding.
I don't know if that's true, but.
That's what I was.
I mean, I think there is a very bad communication gap here, honestly. And one of the problems is if you tell a volunteer, well, you can come in here at 10 o'clock, but you have to leave at 12. That doesn't make sense. Why? Why did we ever do that? Was there a reason?
I believe that, well, I'm just kind of shooting. Gary, do you want to? Somebody has to be there with them. Right,
Okay.
right. So that may depend on staffing.
Yeah, okay, right. So we're volunteers, like I've been a volunteer there for years, Andrew has, and a bunch of us. But we have to have somebody there from the county. Now, could it be anybody? Could it be the secretary? I mean, what do you think we're gonna actually do?
That's not.
I mean, is that it, or
No, of course
is it a
not.
liability thing?
Yes, it
Or,
is.
I mean, I'm not getting.
If the volunteers have to fill out the same application that an employee fills out, then where's the problem with a volunteer being there without them being there?
I mean, I see in a way, but I do feel like we have a lot of, emotional, bank with you guys already. You know us. You know that we're not gonna go in there and do something ridiculous.
And you know that all summer, if you needed anything, or anybody else needed anything.
And I don't blame you at all.
I responded
on it.
immediately.
I know, you have a tremendous amount of pressure on you. You run this whole county and we're just a little speck.
Well, no, this is very important.
It is, but it's a small portion. And I just honestly feel we should change these policies. Don't let people turn in all their dogs. Take every single dog that comes in. The minute they bring, we only have a certain amount of space. The minute they bring in a whole litter and a whole bunch of them, we gotta start euthanizing. Andrea's on the phone 24 hours a day. How many miles did we put on our van? 200,000?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have been all over this state a jillion times. So if we could control without people getting mad, I mean, maybe the taxpayers will get mad and say, why won't you take it? I mean, they gotta take some responsibility.
Another thing, I'm working with the vet's office to have another low-cost vaccination clinic. And we're probably looking at October, and we're looking at how to handle this in view of the regulations that they have to follow in order to do that. So there should be some information coming out in September about when we can do this and how you're going to be able to participate.
And so all our volunteers need to have, or who need it, need to have total access to that computer program you guys have. Because we need to send out the pictures of the dogs, we need to get the bios of the dogs, we need all this information. And we had a big problem this year because somehow we couldn't get in there, we didn't have access, there was but that's the only way we can network these dogs and cats is by letting other shelters know. Right. So that is one thing we need to smooth out somehow.
And Lacey, excuse me, they have access to.
Yes, they have access, but they do not have access to the citizens' record.
Good, good. Because I know there were a few times where we just didn't, and we couldn't seem to get from here to there.
And I do know that went on for several weeks,
Yeah.
but that's something that's been
That was,
resolved.
yeah, okay, good. And believe me, Luanda, I appreciate all you've done, and I know that you have a heart for this too, and I'm not blaming you at all. This is a systemic problem that you have to deal with the policies. That's why I feel like we need to change them.
Is there a way to change the liability so that volunteers can do more? Or you can use teenagers?
Well, it would be nice to be able to use students.
So.
I can get answers to those questions.
Will there be some, there's been a lot of good comments from all the citizens around the, animal control, animal shelter. Would it be sufficient to maybe put this on, maybe at our next workshop and maybe have a couple of.
We could come in and give our 2 cents worth. We certainly will be happy to do that.
Do you want me to bring all the policies to the board and the ordinances for review in September?
I hate to have the board do that whole thing, but I think it could be really narrowed down. All those crazy, now you probably don't like to hear that, Conrad, but
Hey,
I mean,
what y'all need to do, very simply, is make a list of your, things that need to be done to present to the board.
this is
instead
what
of-
we'd like.
Do that, and this board.
I don't want you guys to have to look at all those policies. They're ridiculous.
You can bring that to the September workshop.
All right,
That would be great.
okay,
Yeah,
we will try to do that.
and if there's other presentations or suggestions and
Right.
and all that, we can come down to this.
Well, it's wonderful for you guys to listen to us and to hear us. I mean, it's important, and we really do.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank everyone for being here, but I did hear this mentioned a lot tonight, that this animal control starts with the citizens.
It does.
Our animal group, they're basically, they're trying to manage a problem created by someone else.
Right.
And there may be some things that we can do as a county to.
Well, if we can change some policy and narrow down what the citizens of Taylor County can bring to the shelter willy-nilly and take up all the space, and, I mean, I think there are things that we could do to make it much better, and I think other shelters do that.
Well, I'll just say with the animal control group, I've worked with them in instances where they have come out and retrieved animals.
Oh, I agree.
And to take them back, found the owners, take them back to the owner for the owner to use their
I
own
know.
animals.
I know it.
It's just,
Those owners accountable.
but.
Are you able to, I'm sorry to interrupt, but are you able to speak with law enforcement to put pressure on them to be a part of the solution?
There's no law like that right now.
I would just say we
That's-
probably need
I don't think
to bring it to a.
Or talk to them? Just tell them.
Bring some bullet points to the workshop and, maybe have a couple representatives from your parts for hometown homes.
Right,
I think everybody has the same goal.
I think so.
Ms. LaWanda, if I could just mention one more time, thank you for listening. What job do you work at where they don't have cameras? We need security cameras in there. I think it's important, so everybody's held accountable, and we can see how these animals are being treated. And it keeps everybody honest. It's a protection for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Efficient for the board.
Thank you, guys, a million. Really appreciate it.
We'll move on
A lot of times we take on students, make us think about it. It's great.
You think? Yeah, do. I don't know if it's
Okay, where you Yeah, so how many? So, y'all, he started about, pick it up. But I mean, who do we help? I mean, I don't mind doing paper. month, so I have plenty of time to. Yeah.
All the information I have on
All right, we'll go ahead and move on.
Well, I know y'all got a lot to do, but I'll get with y'all. Thank you.
Right, now we can move on to the
This is the animal shelter. We're ready how these animals are being housed. Does anybody? Well, it might be a good idea that you do, then you can kind of get a feel for what we're talking about.
All right, we have some folks here on item 27. Commissioner Newman had asked if we could potentially move it up. And we have Constantine Hatchie and got a little ways to travel back, so, it's okay, I'll move item 27. We'll go ahead with that, are we still okay with that?
Okay.
Item 27, under Administrator Adams, the board to consider the appointment of one member to the Big Bend Water Authority Board of Directors, agended by the county administrator.
As you can see, there's one opening, and there was one application by Mr. Wendell McKinnon. I did verify through Big Bend Water Authority that his application was received by the deadline, and it was advertised.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Beaver to approve, we have a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dent, all in favor?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Jump back to, county staff item 20. The board to consider approval of Venture City Small County Outreach Program reimbursement agreement to reconstruct, widen, and resurface Industrial Park Drive, CR 362, and adoption of authorizing resolution.
This is a stop agreement, as it says in the agenda item, for addressing the reconstruction of Industrial Drive. There is an additional resolution in there, which is required for you to sign it on behalf of the board.
I move to be.
Before we need to read the resolution, you want to read the resolution by title only? Got a motion by Commissioner Dent, read the resolution by title only, got a second? Second, Commissioner Newman, all in favor?
Industrial Park Drive widening, resurfacing, Small County Outreach Program Project, signature authorization.
We have a motion to approve the resolution. Motion to approve the resolution. Second by Commissioner Moody, all in favor? What about the agreement? Do we have a motion to approve the agreement? Motion by Commissioner Newman. Second by Commissioner Moody, all in favor? I'll take that. Item 21, the board to consider approval of the SDOT Small County Outreach Program reimbursement agreement to realign and reconstruct a portion of Beach Road, CR 361, and adoption of authorizing resolution agended by county engineer.
This is an additional stop agreement that was forwarded to us by DOT. This is addressing that segment around Dead Man's Curve where we, already completed the right-of-way acquisition. This will provide the funding so that we can move forward with that project. It too has a resolution that's required for you to approve, for you to sign on that.
I move.
Have a motion to read the resolution by title only. Have a second? Second, all in favor? Aye. Mr. Bishop.
Beach Road realignment and reconstruction, Small County Outreach Program Project, signature authorization.
We have a motion to approve the resolution. Second. And a second to approve the resolution, all in favor? All right, entertain a motion to approve the agreement.
Motion.
Motion to approve the agreement, second by Commissioner Dent, all in favor? Item 22, the board to consider approval of the CHW proposal to implement the usage mitigation measures to address flooding within the Steenhouse community using American Rescue Plan Act funding of the General County.
So that's the United States Army Corps of Engineers. If you recall, back sometime in, I think it was 2022, when we started this, 2020, the Army Corps of Engineers has partnered with us using the floodplain management program in order to evaluate different areas throughout the county to try to work on alleviating some of the flooding situations. These were the two initial ones that the Army Corps finished their evaluation for. So what we have done is, if you recall, sometime back, we were able to receive some ARPA funds, which is the American Resource Protection, or Rescue Plan, Rescue Plan Act. We have $4 million that we have allocated for that. The board endorsed us to use that for these stormwater programs. These are two that I am trying to push forward because of some of the timing considerations for that ARPA funds to be encumbered before the end of the year. The proposal, when I pitched it to CHW, they are very well aware that the encumbrance is all the way up through encumbering that construction contract. So they are mindful of that, and they believe they are able to work through that. Just kind of like an FYI, we are not quite done with the balance of the areas with the Army Corps. Hopefully that'll come anytime soon. I did suggest to CHW that if this one was received favorably by the board, that I would try to pick out a couple more in order to maximize the usage of those ARPA funds prior to the end of the year, in the unfortunate event that our DEM, Florida Department of Emergency Management funding programs, aren't successful. There are some that, have less opportunities for a BCA, favorable BCA, which is benefit cost analysis. So, I'll try to hit some of those.
Question. Will this take all of this funding that's available? How much will be left?
Well, the anticipation is that this is a 300,000 here. The anticipation is a potential around a 1.3 million for the 13th and Central project that has the regrading, some raising of the road, a run of culvert all the way over to the east where it's going to exit into the river. And then the other area that's included in this is 4th and Allen, and that one's a little over 600,000. So that gets you around, say, 2.5, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that leaves about $1.5 million. And that's why I gave you the FYI that, depending on how well this goes and how quickly Army Corps is able to get the rest of those projects, I'll try to catch whichever gives us the best bang for our bucks out of those, mindful of how much money we have available left.
And the reason I ask is because, we still have a lot of flooding issues over in the Ellison Road area in my district. And also, even though it's not in my district, I've been getting calls from Turner Road. I was sent pictures this week and it's a mess. Can any of this be used for Ellison Road and Turner Road?
Ellison Road is one of the original areas that the Army Corps is evaluating. They have, they're back and forth. They have a solution. The solution that is kind of the most effective still involves that eventuality of trying to get a drainage easement, which is going to be tough. Yes. They understand the history that has happened out there, and we know a successful way to do it. The difficulty is trying to obtain that partnership with the local landowners to be able to make that come to fruition. The Turner Road area was not one of the original 10. We are understanding that what has been going on out there for quite some time. The kind of stopgap measure is the pursuit of raising the profile in the low areas along that stretch of road to, as I told someone yesterday, it's basically going to give you a dry path to get to and from your property. It's not going to address the situation of all the acreage that is flooding out there. That's really not going to be solved until there is some means to address the conveyance downstream through that Weaver Warrior Creek. And that's gonna take a lot of effort.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you got the pictures or not, but the road is totally covered.
I drove it 2 weeks ago, so I'm very familiar
This
with
was
it.
just a couple of days ago that I received this picture, and I'm assuming that that was a picture from mail.
Yes, ma'am, and Hank told me earlier today that he's had Scott and I go out there, can't remember if he said every day or every week, but I know that what was 16 inches is down to 7 inches today. And that's where the culvert is at, right by the pond, closer to the far east end. That's Turner Road. So I did drive through that a couple weeks ago, so I went out physically and I tried to delineate the extent of where the water rose to. I've given a set of the old construction plans to Hank and said, go out and ground truth this relative to where I put a mark, and let's put that same mark on these plans so that we know that when we finish this, we've at least achieved that level of dryness. So we are working on that outside of this program, but on this one, because of the timing and the benefit of already having the Army Corps evaluation, which is a planning level, it's not full design. And working with my trust and familiarity with CHW, I have confidence in them being able to accomplish this. Things will have to fall in line for us to be able to get all the way to the point of encumbering that contract.
Mr. Engineer, you recall on Turner Road that we recently proposed the elevation of 2 of those areas, do you not?
I do remember that, Mr. Commissioner. Yes, sir.
And what would be the status of that process?
That was what I just went through, where I said I gave the set of original construction plans to Hank last week. He has gone out there and trying to delineate the extent of that inundated areas and transferring that information to the construction plan so that we will have a reasonable scope of work in order to prepare a solicitation for when those conditions are conducive to reconstructing that road, that we can work on it.
Right, but we've had conditions where it was acceptable for that kind of work to take place, haven't we?
You tell me, I don't know, sir.
Yes, sir, it's been dry out there. There's been residents that have been very clear about the opportunity for improvement as far as the concave road. And so now, instead of that pavement continuing to hold up, it's continuing to deteriorate. And so what I would say is I have talked to staff. I have been in contact with being certain that emergency services are continuing to be available. And I'm glad that the residents are continuing to bring forth these pictures of the conditions of this area, let's call it. Because it's not just Turner Road, as you're saying, that it's inclusive to the area and the lack of the drainage being allowed to go downstream. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, the fair statement is actually that there have been historical activities, agricultural practices, vegetation, inundation on those downstream water courses that has contributed tremendously to that area flooding the way it has for quite some time. The time frame in most recent when there was an effort to try and reconstruct that road through a maintenance effort, it was not ready to be done then, because you have to understand that when you try to reconstruct a roadway and you do anything to involve the underlying base, it can't happen when that base is saturated. So we know, and like I mentioned to one of the landowners yesterday, that when we get to the point that we have dry asphalt and the water is off that road, we will begin that process of the solicitation, understanding that we know we'll have somewhere in the neighborhood of a month and a half or so before you actually get to the point of trying to award something. And hopes of that would be a time for that water to actually still continue to recede beyond the bottom of that base, which is going to be necessary for you to build it. Otherwise, you're going to have a mess and not be able to do what you achieve.
But your suggestion is to not have that in place so that you can move forward on that when you have the weather opportunity and the condition opportunity?
I don't think I said that.
You said you wouldn't begin to solicit for a contractor for that work until, and it would take you months to get that in place.
That's exactly what I said. Yes, sir. We would not solicit.
You're saying that you would wait.
Or, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. So our process, the way we do this, is we actually put an advertisement before the board. We request approval to advertise. Once the board gives us that approval, we turn around and solicit that for no less than 1 month. We typically receive those results of that bid. If we can award it that night, we do. Otherwise, we have a bid review committee where we come back at the next meeting, which is 15 days later. So once we do that and we issue a notice of award, there is typically a week or two worth before you have a pre-construction conference. There is usually at least 14 days to 2 to 3 weeks before a contractor can actually make it on site. That is my reference to the time frame.
But what I'm saying is, I brought to this board this need, and I believe you stood at this podium and said that it really wasn't necessary to be voted upon this type process. Is that not true?
I don't know. I don't know what you're referencing.
Well, what I'm referencing is, we've brought Turner Road to this board a number of times. It's not on the agenda tonight, but I don't mind discussing it. And I will say, I spoke with staff, and in an abundance of caution and transparency, that we brought to this board these needs, and that we were looking to the potential of making this maintenance repair, or whatever we want to call it, but that we were going to improve the condition of Turner Road. And then we were understanding that we had the option to do that, and I was willing to even utilize district funds, if that's necessary, to get this process started. But then it was discovered that because of the potential bid process, that this wouldn't be able to move forward. Are you aware of any of that?
Mr. Chairman, first of all, this is item that's dealing with a proposal to address the Steenhatchee areas for the drainage. Second to that, yes, sir, I am aware of that. And the problem that happened the last time this was brought up to do this was that it was outside of our purchasing policy. That's what was wrong. You don't go through and do a maintenance effort for a reconstruction project that has a bidding threshold of $35,000 when the quotes come in at $120,000. So yes, sir, it was inconsistent with the purchasing policy and was not appropriate for it to move forward.
And you don't realize, or you don't recall, that this same topic came before the board, and your recommendation was that there was no action necessary to have any kind of process?
Absolutely not. I don't believe that.
Okay, so I'll be glad to bring minutes to you, and we'll discuss that. In reference to this item, and looking into the proposal from CHW, I see a reference here to box culverts.
Yes, sir.
And these, are they going to be cast in place, or are they going to be procured and transported there?
Maybe if you had read it a little bit more closely, you would see that it was predicated on a cast in place.
Well, I read it real closely, but I wanted to be sure I didn't misunderstand it, but thank you for pointing that out. But what I also want to look here is that there seems to be a reference there, I guess, from CHW. Have they in the past had an issue with culverts being designed that were considered bridges?
Do you understand the definition of what a bridge is?
Could you answer my question?
Because I do. No, they have not had issues with it outside of, I got you. So First Avenue, we did not have an issue with it being designed correctly to avoid the bridge definition. What you saw was that when the contractor issued their submittal, they increased the center bearing walls to 1.5 feet, which expanded it beyond 20 foot, which made it a bridge, which under the SCOP program is not allowed to repair, replace a bridge. You can only repair it. So yes, sir, they have not had problems with understanding that they can't, I'll go in just a second. They have not had problems understanding the responsibility to design a box culvert within the context of it being a culvert versus a bridge in my 20 plus years of working with them.
What was the effect because of this technicality for First Avenue?
Sir, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer whatever questions he feels is necessary at some point in time, but truly this item is dealing with the Steenhatchee projects for drainage and the CHW.
So this project doesn't have the potential to be delayed like First Avenue has been because of these box culverts?
Let's move on and deal with the item in front of us.
So I can answer this question. That's related to this item.
Your question, sir?
The question is, Does this project have the potential to be delayed because of these box builders such as First Avenue?
Almost any project that involves design, submittals, reviews, permitting, always has a potential for a delay of some sort.
Do we have a time frame on this design work? Is there a tentative time frame and how long it'll take this vendor to perform? this
Yeah,
task?
I'm going through my mind, trying to figure it out.
Oh, good.
Mr. Chairperson.
Because I do believe it's there.
But I think no matter what, we understand that this must be, it must have a contractual agreement and be encumbered no later than December 31st. And then after that, Kenneth, I believe we have a year to expend the funds.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, and the context of their proposal addresses the understanding of the construction contract encumbrance being an obligation before the end of this year. So what I think they actually said was, once they get a proposal and start some of the preliminary review or the preliminary analysis, that they will be able to provide an additional, it's under letter I on page 11, that CHW provide a detailed project schedule upon receipt of the notice of proceed. So they understand the overall context is that they have to achieve that objective of issuing a encumbering construction contract before the end of the year. They have not provided it will take X days yet.
So that's
That will be a part of the task order before it gets issued.
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Thank you, sir.
We have removed item 23, we'll jump down to county attorney item 24, the board discuss Piggott versus Taylor County.
Yes, sir, if I may. If y'all will recall, I came to y'all and told you that we got an order from the judge that we felt like needed to file a motion for reconsideration. We filed that motion for reconsideration, and as you know, you hired Mr. Reeves to assist on this, and he's prepared with my help a motion for reconsideration. On August the 15th of 2024, we appeared before His Honor Judge Parker and made our arguments with regard to our motion for reconsideration. The attorney for Piggott was there also and argued it. The court did not make a ruling on that at that time. It reserved ruling and told each side to prepare proposed orders for the judge to consider. He gave till about September the 6th to send those in. The other side sent theirs in like Friday, but we and Mr. Riggs is working on that, and we're going to send it in when the judge told us to, which would be September the 6th. We felt like that we made a very good argument before the court on our motion for reconsideration. The judge did say, to the effect, have there been any discussions as to settling? As y'all recall, y'all informed me at the board meeting that you were not real happy with everybody trying to get money out of the board and to mush on and fight it as hard as possible, which we have done to this point. Now, then the attorney for Piggott, his name is Stephen Sellers from Quincy, Florida, sent a letter to me and Mr. Reeves, which, we discussed that, and unbeknownst to us, his client, Mr. Piggott, Rusty, sent an email to each one of y'all with a copy of the letter, also with a copy of his proposed order and also an offer to settle the case for an amount of $350,000. I spoke with Mr. Reeves, and unless y'all have changed your mind, our recommendation is not to agree to that. Okay? And secondly, in response to his, and see, he said it's got to have it by August the 30th of 2024. It's pretty patently obvious why he wants it before August the 30th, 2024, because the judge would have not ruled on our motion for reconsideration at that particular point in time. Do you understand what I'm saying there? You understand what I'm saying? Okay? So our response to that would be, and we're going to ask y'all approval of that, to send Mr. Sellers, the attorney for Pygott, a proposal for settlement for $10,000. And say, well, why do that? Well, because if we end up and our motion for reconsideration is granted and we're able to go to jury trial on all these issues that we think the court should rule on in our favor, and we are very successful, then we might be in a position to require Mr. Pygott's corporation to pay y'all's attorney's fees. So with that in mind, if you have any questions to me, I'm going to make a recommendation to you as to two motions. Anybody have any questions on what I've said so far? Okay. The first motion I would ask you to do would be to reject the offer that this letter of August the 21st, 2024 sent to me and Mr. Reeves be rejected.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Newman, second by Commissioner Dents, to reject
that offer.
That offer, $350,000.
Yes, sir.
All in favor?
The second motion that I would ask you to consider would be a motion to send the proposal for settlement for $10,000.
Make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Field, second by Commissioner Rudy.
Send it, it's a written proposal for settlement for $10,000.
Based on Mr. Bishop's
and Mr.
Reeves' direction.
Make a recommendation.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Thank y'all. Thank y'all very much, and we will keep you informed. It's been a long time since I've seen where a litigant sends things to my client, which y'all are. Enough said.
You feel like a Philadelphia lawyer, don't you?
From Mississippi, for sure.
Thank you, Conrad, for what you're doing.
I'll tell you what, y'all. I like to have fun. Y'all know that. This ain't been no fun. Maybe we'll get to some fun.
Well, thank you. Well, County Administrator, item 25, the board consider approval of a private appraisal for real property located at lot number 17, unit number 3, Beaton Beach, as identified by our county administrator.
If you recall, the last time I call it the seawall property. So this is the seawall, the property that's adjacent to Mr. McLean in Beaton Beach. He did submit an offer that was rejected by the board. There was communication between he, myself, and our attorney since then, and the recommendation was that a private appraisal be obtained for this property because Mr. McLean basically disputed the amount that was forwarded from our property appraiser's office. Since that time, I reached out to our property appraiser, and they actually have removed that that value. They felt like they really didn't have the tools to provide the best number possible. Mr. McLean moved forward on his own and obtained a private appraisal for this property, which is the same company, or the same appraiser, excuse me, that our attorney suggested that we utilize. The amount of that appraisal is $5,000. So I provided that to the board, and I wish to ask for your steps moving forward. Now, Marcia, does Mr. McLean have his hand raised? I don't know if he wishes to speak. He's on the line.
Or you just need a motion to accept?
Well, I think that this is twofold. I think that if the board wishes, I mean, the appraisal is the appraisal, but I think the real issue here is do you wish to set a minimum price for this property? Because in all, honestly, when we haven't had many of these situations, but I do believe that there are times that there is back and forth because, we think we know what the property's worth or we haven't obtained an appraisal. I think, I don't want to speak for him, but I'm assuming his question may be, what do you want for the property? What are you willing to accept?
I think we ought to give it to him. And the reason I say that is because he took a piece of property that we have not done anything with, we're not gonna do anything with, and he greatly improved it. So it helped us out in the meantime. So really, we shouldn't charge him anything.
You make that to a motion,
I will.
and I'll second it.
Hold on that. We have some discussion by the,
Well, I just have a question because his offer of $100 was rejected. Because that was the amount that he offered.
Okay.
Just to bring that to the board's attention.
How much was that?
$100.
He offered $100.
If he would pay for the appraisal, what was appraisal cost?
He already did.
His appraisal was $5,000.
Yeah, but I'm talking about what did you have to pay the appraiser?
He paid for it.
He paid for it. He paid for the survey and he
Okay.
went ahead on his own and obtained an appraisal from the same appraiser that Mr. Conrad had recommended. So Mr. Conrad's recommendation is that we provide that to the board and ask for further guidance.
He did his part, I think, if that's the case. And he needs that piece of property to finish his seawall and all, and fix that canal where when they do dredge it, it won't be falling in anymore. So I'm fine with it.
I guess for discussion, has he made any suggestion as to what he'd be willing to offer for the parcel?
we offered $100.
Is he on the line?
No,
He's on the line.
So,
Do you want to, would you like to speak directly with him?
If he wants to speak, we'll let him speak, and hopefully we kind of know what we'll do, so. Mr. McLean?
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, I was just, when the question came up about who paid for the appraisal, I just wanted to say that I did.
Yes.
And that was, $475.
Thank you, I got it. Okay,
Okay.
thank you, sir. So,
Sure.
for me, like I always say, we're not in the business, we try to steer away from just giving the property away. But I will say, in this case, Mr. McLean has spent, I believe, close to $80,000 to enhance a piece of property.
I think he spent more than that.
There may be more than that by now, that was 2 or 3 months ago, so he's probably spent more money than that. He spent the money on a survey, maybe an appraisal. But I say he probably has done his part.
May I ask our attorney a question?
No.
So 125.35.
It's a private sale.
So a sale can be for zero, and we would just follow those.
What my suggestion would be to, y'all rejected his $100 offer. Now you can decide to accept his $100 offer.
I would ask if he would, understand what the the appraisal is, what would his offer be currently after he's gotten his appraisal? That's my question.
Let Mr. McLean talk.
If he wants to answer that, please.
Yeah, I'm sure. Mr. McLean, did you hear,
Got there, go ahead.
did you hear the discussion?
You were breaking up there, I didn't hear the last bit.
It was, Commissioner Newman, I'll let you, if you wanted to speak.
Yeah, the question is, so the board rejected a $100 bid for the parcel. What would you propose to pay after having your appraisal done for this parcel?
And Mr. McLean, our attorney, Mr. Bishop, had just mentioned, we reminded us that we did reject your $100 offer. And he had just, if we, instead of giving and showing as a giveaway, so that we can turn around and accept your $100 offer. Commissioner Newman is asking, what would you offer at this point for the property?
Well, based on the fact that now I understand where the original evaluation came from, which is based on a whole cured lot, I would prefer it if you would take that original $100 and let me finish the seawall, which by the time I'm finished with that, it'll be about $93,000 now.
Yeah. But you want to amend your motion?
I will amend it then that we, accept the $100 offer.
I'll amend the second.
So we have a motion on the table to accept the $100 and a second by Commissioner Reed. No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
I guess I have another question. So as far as,
Who are you looking at now?
so I can ask it without.
Go ahead.
in the room. As far as.
It's 8:45.
No, I know. Have you eaten supper? Is that
No.
what's wrong? Okay. So.
Well, I got a smile on my face.
You do. Closing costs. In a case like this, which I understand we still have to go through the process of 125/35, but, how does?
We've done that. This is a private sale.
Okay.
You've advertised it
Right.
because he was the person that was
Correct.
adjacent
He
to
was.
it. So all we need to do is, prepare a deed for the chairperson to sign and give it to Mr. McLean to record for $100.
Okay.
And he needs to give us a check give Porter County, Taylor County $100.
And then I offer him if he would like title insurance. No, he can have it.
That's his, yeah,
That's his choice.
that's his choice.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
You satisfied now?
I still have 3 more items.
No. With regard to this issue.
I may ask you more questions, yes, I understand. Thank you.
Okay.
Moving along, item 26, the board to consider appointment of 3 members to the Taylor County Licensing Board. Agenda by
There are 3 openings on the Taylor County Licensing Board, and there are 3 applications. The applications were received from Anna King, Michael Kinsey, and Eric Griffiths. And according to our ordinance, there may be a citizen appointment to the board, which would be Ms. King. It's 3, the County Construction Industry Licensing Board consists of 5 members, 3 who are familiar with the building trade and 2 who shall be laypersons. So, this would be consistent, yes, sir.
I move.
Have a motion to approve these 3 members. Do we have a second?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We've handled 27 already, we're going to go to 28. The board discussed waste pro contract options to renew as agenda by county administrator.
So the deadline to notify Waste Pro, who is our contractor, if the contract is to be canceled, is October 1st. They have indicated that they would like to renew the contract. There are provisions in the contract for a 5-year renewal. They have sent a letter, I did not include it, I apologize. And they also did provide us with the calls that we have asked for, which is basically the complaints and how they were handled, basically. Representatives from Waste Pro were here. I know that one of the questions oftentimes is as far as complaints and calls. I will say just myself, I don't know if commissioners are receiving complaints, but there has been a decrease recently in complaints regarding missed service. So really, I just need a recommendation from the board or a decision from the board if you wish for us to publish a request for proposals or if you wish to exercise the option to renew.
I would be in favor of an RFP.
I would too.
I could make a motion.
And one other thing, I have a problem with 5 years. If it doesn't work out, and you're bound to that contract for 5 years, I have a problem with that. I'd rather see a shorter period of time.
And I don't recall the original contract. I know that with other contracts where it involves a purchase of equipment, especially large purchases, we're not always successful negotiating for 3 years versus 5 because of the initial investment that they must make. But we can certainly, I can ask Conrad to assist with a 3-year contract with a 2-year option to renew or something like that, if that's what the board wishes.
I'd like to say I'm very familiar with 2-year and 3-year contracts with, including the purchase of millions of dollars worth of equipment, so.
Yes, sir.
5 years is not acceptable.
I'm not arguing. I mean, we can just simply change the terms of the RFP and the terms of the contract if that's what you wish.
Yes.
I would make it 3 years.
3. Do you want a 2-year optional renewal period? So it's a 3-year contract with an option to renew for 2 years after that. Is that acceptable?
Would be.
Okay.
Conrad, do you have a take on that?
No, I do know about, when folks are in business and you, make big purchases, that's why they like longer contracts, because they've got to, finance it with the bank or whoever they finance with for a certain period of time, and that's one of the things that the contractor or the bidder brings to the table when they're negotiating. I'm very familiar with that.
Well, I wouldn't bid on something if I didn't have the equipment to do it in the first place.
Well, I can understand that point too, and I don't represent them, I represent the Board of County Commissioners. But I do understand that commerce flows with people. I'll tell you what, a guy told me a long time ago when I was a young lawyer. If you want to make a lot of money, use other folks' money to make it.
Yeah.
I'm sure y'all have all heard that.
For 44 years.
That sounds like a marriage to me.
It is.
I understand the contract situation, having to show financial institutes that you have this you're getting this contract.
Yeah, you use that as collateral.
This time, and that's what it is, it's used as collateral. And, but 3 years is sufficient.
So just for the board's information, the contract does not end until the end of January, I believe. So we will start the process, but we have plenty of time. I actually brought it to the board just a little bit early. So we had, in light of everything that we have going on, so we had time to prepare the documents and get them back before the board. We'll advertise and go through the process that we normally do with a request for proposal.
Did we vote? I don't remember. Did not. We have a motion and a second for an RFP. On this
3 years, 3-2.
All in favor? All right. You got another one here. Item 29, the county administrator to discuss informational items. I mean, you have given us enough information already.
So we did meet with the Florida Department of Transportation today regarding debris removal. They actually started that, Friday, I believe, in the bus routes. But we put out an informational item today that the deadline to place the debris in the right-of-way is September 22nd. So it's.
Question on that, if they're picking up today.
Right.
My assumption is they're planning on making multiple passes.
So they prefer that we not use the word pass. They said what they are going to do is after the 22nd, they will start checking roads. And if they are roads that they previously thought they cleared, that, and there is debris on those roads, that they will remove the debris.
Spot checking.
Well, I asked if they were going to check every road to make sure that debris, that there's a road that's been previously cleared, that they will go back to it. They did confirm with me that they have no contract language that limits the number of passes or limits the number of times that they remove debris on a road. So, they were very clear about that.
I've got county roads all in here, dude, it's got debris by it, so
I'm sure you do.
I hope they don't miss.
I hope so as well.
Go ahead.
So basically citizens have, 3 weeks to get the debris out, because I did explain to them that there are citizens who are waiting for contractors to come and take trees down. It's a 2 or 3 week wait, and my concern was if they started debris removal last week, that they were going to think that they had picked it all up, and people are still in flooded areas where you cannot get to the trees. And they were very receptive to that argument and, gave us until September 22nd. But as of September 22nd, that's it. So if the road.
That is the final effort.
We
don't want to call it a pass.
No, the 22nd is the deadline to have the debris in the right-of-way, which gives people several weeks. Then they will, if they've already, the way I understand it, if they've already removed debris on a particular road, they will go back after the 22nd to ensure that there is no new debris, because that was a major concern that I had. So that has been published via Everbridge, that is on social media. And if you speak with your constituents, please encourage them to, which we've been doing the whole time, get your debris out. Now, that's the good news of a good news, bad news item. The bad news is there has been no resolution regarding removal of private road debris. So what we did was include in the message that has not been resolved, and I don't know when it will be resolved. And I understand that complicates things, and I explained that to them. But the response I got is that is a message that they got from their leadership. So I will pick up the phone tomorrow and I will call the state and see if I can get some type of resolution, because what I don't want to do is to have people pay to have debris put on the side of a county road, and then, after the fact, realize that they could have put it on their private road right away.
So how does this conflict with our crew, our own crew that was being put together?
It doesn't.
Is our clock ticking on that?
No, not yet. No, we have 2,080 days after they're hired, so we're good with that. I'm so sorry. 2,080 hours they can work before the time expires, or money runs out. But we're in, no, the one day. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Okay, we'd all be dead, I'm sure.
Apparently
Is there
I'm
some
tired as
sort
well.
Is there some sort of state law or something somewhere that says that they cannot pick up on private roads? And the reason I ask that is because, and this is where I've stood all along, there's many private roads, well, on all private roads, these people pay taxes the same as the ones that live on a county-maintained road. And when it's open, it's a private road and it's still used by the public, it's not gated, and it's not used exclusively for that homeowner's, use. There shouldn't be a question, they should pick up from private roads. Now, is there a law that says they can't do that?
That was my testimony to the House of Representatives last year.
There is a law?
No, I'm saying what you are saying was my exact testimony to them. So when I asked that question, their response was that it's not, they feel like they do not have the statutory authority to remove debris on private roads. Now, obviously, it happened last year, but it was after much effort and much angst. And my concern is if we pick up that fight again, that I don't want citizens to miss the opportunity, because I can guarantee you on September 22nd, I anticipate it to be a very quick effort. They are not going to be here for months. I will make that call again, but I feel like at some point we're going to run out of time, and I don't want citizens to be left with no way of having debris removed. If they can get it to a county road, I don't.
They can't. A lot of these people can't. They physically can't do that. And a lot of people don't have the money to hire somebody to carry it right just over to a county road. We ought not to be doing business with people that refuse to help us on these private roads where these people pay the same amount of property taxes we do.
Well, the only other option we have is not to allow FDOT to, I mean, we're not doing business with the Florida Department of Transportation. I mean, I guess we are. They were authorized by the governor, but if the county wishes to enter in,
We can't do that.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have $30 million or 40, whatever it may end up. So have you spoken to somebody up the chain at FDOT to try to help them realize that these people pay taxes too?
I testified that exact.
But have you talked to FDOT about it? They're the ones that's making that decision, right?
So what I will tell you is that Senator Simon and Neil Dunn both assured me that they had spoken with FDOT and that they felt like there would not be a problem. The issue is that has not been communicated down to District 2, who is doing our debris removal. So I will pick up the phone. Again, I had a meeting with them this afternoon. I did not have time to make any calls. So I will pick up the phone with Senator Simon tomorrow and ask if there's anything he can do, because he was very instrumental previously, to be able to provide an answer and direction to FDOT in our district to either give us a yes or a no so people know what to do.
Right, that's in reference to the January meeting that we had with Senator Simon, when he was assured that.
No, this was just after Hurricane Debbie.
Right, but the history that goes on there as far as all of the working relationships that the senator has taken up on our behalf is monumental. And I am very well aware that he had an integral part in that monster amount that remained on the road for 6 months after Adelia came through. So I would have confidence in what his indications are.
Well, I was somewhat dismayed when it was not resolved by this afternoon. But again, I will call him tomorrow and ask what he can do to help us. And I will call Dr. Dunn's office as well and ask for them to step in if they feel like they can be helpful. And I believe there's conversations, it just hasn't filtered down to our region. I just don't want to run, our district, excuse me, I just don't want them to run out of time.
You don't think there's a potential, given, some of the areas that flooded somewhat start to recede, and then the evening rains come back through, and we're right back to the same condition? What about those folks?
I mean, they've given a deadline of September 22nd. They seemed, I don't know if they will extend it, and I don't know how long, here's what I would say. If there's a special circumstance, I mean, I reached out many times the last 2 debris removals on when I would get calls or texts from commissioners and say, what about this? What about this? They were very, very helpful. Occasionally they did say no, but I feel like that they will give it their best effort, but I cannot answer on their behalf and say that, it will extend past September 22nd.
So the deal is, if they don't pick it up, some of these people are gonna put it beside their private road. So that's gonna be on us to come back and help these people out. They're tax-paying citizens. And it's not right not to help these people.
Well, I would say that would be a board decision to remove debris on private roads.
Yeah.
Outside of a state of emergency?
You have to declare an emergency,
You would have
because
to
people couldn't get through on the roads.
They have been picking up on the Puckett Road, their side of the airport fence for the last couple of days. And I don't know if they're gonna come back or not.
We already
but
pointed
there's
it
a
out to
mess.
them. I know
There's
there
a mess.
is.
They left all the little stuff, picked up the big stuff.
So what they do is they came with a grapple, which is not all the little stuff. And we were assured today, because we showed them pictures of Houck Road, and told them, we have mowers out, we don't want them to run over this debris, they're gonna have to go around it, and they assured us that they would, but that they would go back and pick up the small stuff. But I would assume that we will have to stay in communication with them.
Because it's to the point now they couldn't mow it if they needed to, Thank you.
Around debris pickup, and this is just for future reference, which storms, it's probably never really been discussed because we hadn't really had a storm to that magnitude. But all these folks and contractors coming here and they make all this money off of these storms. They stage up in our places, create some damage probably that's left for us to clean up. I've talked to some surrounding counties, and these same top crews that want to stage doesn't charge.
And that's something we are working with. I know that there's one entity who wishes to reserve space at the airport, and we've already been negotiating with them a dollar amount because we realize that, and we have broached the subject with other entities. This storm, it was a little too late for us to pull the trigger on that, but I don't disagree.
Okay, we just started vendors fees to do business on our property, so I think it's only.
That discussion has been started.
One more question. So what would happen if all these, private roads that are really public roads, but they're private roads, that we do not maintain? What would happen if we identified all these roads as county roads, but not maintained?
So when we entered the mission, the way that I worded the mission request, I provided a list of all non-county maintained publicly accessible roads. That's what they're called, non-county maintained publicly accessible roads. I don't call them private roads because that's what they are. So yes, we have had that discussion. They are publicly accessible, and remember, after Adelia, they did go in and remove debris, but if there was a sign that said no trespassing or private property, they refused to go down that road. If it was gated, they would not go down that road because their argument was it is not publicly accessible because there's a gate across it. So we have been through that exercise.
And I agree with that. If it's gated and it has a sign up, no trespassing, then you're on your own.
Correct.
Nobody's coming in there, it's not a public road at that time.
But we have
But all the ones that we have that are private, that they're cut-through roads and the public uses them, the school buses go down them.
That was my argument, but because they're not labeled county maintained roads, that is where FDOT has basically drawn the line in the sand and said, we do not have statutory authority to enter these roads.
We need to keep working that issue because I don't think that's right.
I do not either. I do not disagree. And I believe the exact word that I used when I testified was disenfranchised, which was maybe probably not popular, but I believe in my heart that taxpayers who do not receive this benefit are disenfranchised from the same benefit that other taxpayers pay. I absolutely agree with that. So, Taylor County, we have been notified that we have been awarded $1.6 million for a new roof at Doctors Memorial Hospital. This was solicited by DMH, but will be, the agreement will be with the Board of County Commissioners as the hospital belongs to Taylor County. I will put this on the next agenda. I feel like that this was an effort that was endorsed by state leadership and definitely by Commerce. They are helping make this happen very, very quickly. So I will put this on the agenda for next week, and you can make a decision if you wish to accept these grant funds.
Where's it coming from?
Commerce, Department of Commerce. Now, if you recall, I think I told you that we've also been awarded a $50,000 grant by Department of Commerce, and that is for the creation of an economic recovery plan. That will be on the next agenda as well. What I will request as a fiscally constrained county is that they direct pay the contractors. So hopefully, if they agree, it will not come from our coffers, but the invoice will be sent directly to Commerce, and Commerce will pay the entities directly, which is what they did with the $75,000 grant.
Who will handle the bidding process?
We will have to.
The county or the hospital?
No, the county.
I've been getting a lot of calls, well, a few calls. And, I know the hospital, that property is owned by the county, and the agreement is for hospital to fund their own repairs, so to speak. But I do think that it should be common practice that the hospital gives local contractors the opportunity to
I don't
bid.
disagree.
And I don't think that's been happening, is what I'm saying. So I think we need to make a suggestion,
Yes.
recommendation to our hospital.
It did with the boiler repair.
Ma'am?
It did with the boiler repair. The boiler repair last year,
Yeah, the boiler repair, they paid for that.
no, but they offered it to a local contractor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they offered it to a local contractor. And, the local contractor did it one time before, but the last time they didn't. They offered it, but they didn't. The local contractor's not the one that did it last.
So,
Well, they had the opportunity.
Yeah, they had opportunity, yeah.
but the county will be responsible for the process, and, initially, upon word of this grant award, I did have some trepidation because obviously we have multiple projects going on, And this funding, even though it's through Commerce, is called CDBG MIT, which is a mitigation grant. It is extremely complicated. And I may have turned a different color when they said CDBG MIT because they immediately said, Wanda, don't worry. We will hold your hand through the whole process. So there seems to be a great deal of Commerce has offered a great deal of support, which we honestly will need. So because it's a very laborious grant, it's a very laborious process, but it's such a huge benefit to the hospital. And obviously, the hospital is so important as far as economic development and recovery. It's a huge thing for Taylor County. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of good news. Also, I think on the 29th, I sent you an invitation to the grand reopening of the emergency room. If y'all are interested in attending, we can put out a public notice.
Who's gonna oversee the, new roof, the construction of the new roof?
We will be responsible for that. I did reach out to Commerce and I reached out to staff and tried to solicit some opinions if we should ask for funding for CEI or if we need, because they said, well, you can have your building inspector, oversee this, but I have a little bit of anxiety about that. That just seems like a very big project for us to take on. So I did speak with Ms. Lauren, and they may have to make the scope of the actual construction a little bit smaller in order to allow for the CEI. But I think that's the way to go.
I do too.
Because I just can't see our limited staff being that involved in the process, even though we just may need someone to inspect a roof. I don't feel 100% comfortable. This is a big project. So I did ask that question, and that was, they said it could be either way, but, either way, but I feel more comfortable with CEI. Thank you.
Item 30, comments and concerns from the public for non-agenda items. Comments and concerns from the public for non-agenda items.
Is Hampton Springs on the list, or did I miss it?
We spoke on it earlier, probably
You did?
about 3 hours ago.
I must have been outside and couldn't hear.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well.
Anyone else? Anyone more? All right. Item 31, board informational items, Commissioner Peele.
Yes, speaking of economic development, the TCDA board is working very hard. I think they're making progress. We're very thankful for these people that most of them are working for free. And the ones that are being paid are doing an excellent job. We're very, very lucky to have Kate and Laura Davella on board. And I just believe that we'll see something come along, or at least they're gonna keep, one thing they told me is they're gonna keep coming over here. They're gonna keep this board informed of everything that they're doing. And they are working, so we don't have to worry that nothing's being done because it is.
Commissioner Dix.
I echo the same sentiment that Pam have. I believe they are doing the best they can. And I don't think they have anything concrete yet, but they are trying to raise some concrete. And they are lucky. We'll be lucky. I had a chance to talk to Mr. Casey today. I was impressed. And I'll be more impressed when he brings us back. Good job.
If it can be done, they'll do it.
Okay. The other thing I want to mention, I did get a chance to ride out on Turner Road today. Water is bad. There's a lot of water out there. I don't see how in the world those folks make it, but anyway, they out there. Every place wet out there. The only place that's dry is where they have the houses up and they push up dirt. Oh, good. I've never seen that much water in Taylor County before. I've been here all my life. Well, except that one across 221 over there, I saw that. Haven't got back there yet. I don't know what happened there. Somebody let some water loose and somebody opened some drains up. It looks like they needed to do that out there on that 1,500 acres they got there. That being said, thank everybody for coming in and the input. I will be content with the next 4 years. Very important.
Commissioner Moody? No, sir. Mr. Moody?
I'd like for us to consider in the future, being all this situation with the dog pound is brought up, for the people to get a little more responsibility about their dogs and keeping them and taking care of them. I wonder if we could have a ordinance where we could make people have a collar on the dog with a name and a number on it. Or get them chipped, one of the two. So when they go to the pound, if they're chipped or got a collar on them, they know who to call. But you have so many people, they just throw the dog out.
Yeah.
And that winds it up, you know.
Not everybody's gonna approach a dog. Just recently, I had dogs out near my home. I got out on the road to read the dog tag, and the dog grabbed hold of me to bite me.
Right.
So I cut it loose.
Right. But, the pound would have a lot better approach for the dogs if they had a collar with a name and a number on it, or a chip, that's what I'm looking at, and that would give people a little more responsibility. If they can afford to feed the dog, they'll put a collar and a tag on it. My feeling, if we had an ordinance to that effect, it would help us maybe with the pound, in the future. That's all I got.
All right. There's nothing else.
I'm sorry, I just need to let y'all know about something. Me and Selena and LaWanda have reviewed some software to better manage from the agendas to the minutes. And what it is it streamlines and it modernizes the preparing of the agendas and the packets and it getting all that out and streamlining the videos as well as preparing the minutes and having access to the public, to the videos and to the minutes, and it actually links the items to the point of the video where it's at. So we just feel like it's gonna be a real time saving software from preparing the agendas to preparing the minutes, plus all the research when we go to look for something. It's gonna be real easy to find. And so my office is gonna be purchasing that. So I just wanna let y'all know if you see some changes on how we're kind of doing things, that's gonna be the reason why. It's because when we're doing that for better access for staff and for the public too.
Very good, thank you. There's nothing else, we'll obtain a motion to adjourn. Got a motion, we have a second. We have a second. Anybody want to go home? Do we have a second? Second. We have a second, all in favor? Aye. Golly. I was up here, I had to beg people to go home.